my king. Well, I don't know about you, but hanging out with pedophiles ain't my thing. It ain't my thing. And he's not my king. He's not my king. He ain't my royal. Well, I don't know about you, but selling your own people down the river makes my blood boil, makes my blood boil. And he's not my royal. Well, they say you judge a man by the company he keeps. And have you ever seen a more unsavory bunch of monsters, pervs and creeps? Stick him in a prison for keeps. He's not my king. He ain't my king. Well, I don't know about you, but depopulation's not my thing. It's not my thing. It's not his thing. And he ain't my king. So you can sort off sausage fingers. You really are the slime. Well, you can fool some people, but you can't fool them all. And they got your number this time. Sort off sausage fingers. You ain't no friend of mine. So take a long, long walk off a short, short pier. 'Cause you're not wanted here, and you can stick the coronation where the sun don't shine. Yes, sort of sausage fingers and take your climate scam. You'll be out of luck.
Good evening, Eric, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me? If you nod.
Tell me, sausage fingers.
Oh, I can hear you now.
What you gonna do when you meet your maker on Judgment Day? Will Jimmy fix it for you?
Good evening and welcome to another exciting show. And I hope you like the introduction. It's a change from the smutty gags. And welcome, Paul. It's Paul English of Paul English Live. Hello, Paul.
Good evening, Eric. That's the closest I've ever been to. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you, but I can hear you. Of course, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's the closest I've come to not being on time. In fact, I was just about not on time, wasn't I? That was a bit.
Never mind. No from parents.
At the last minute, and I was just rushing to get in front of the microphone, but everything's okay. Can you just hold a second, because I've left the door open. It's a bit nippy tonight.
Certainly. Don't worry.
Knees feel cold. I've got cold knees. There's nothing worse for
Fred the plant can take over. And my
I'll be 5 seconds.
Yes, and I've also got the hang on, got my fingers going the wrong way. There we go. I've also got the ironing board there as well. But whilst Paul's gone, now you're probably wondering, where's the smutty gag gone? Well, I didn't have time to prepare one, but something funny happened today with my neighbour, which I must pass this on. I'll wait until Paul comes back, but it's very disturbing. This is. Yeah, Paul, something very strange happened with my neighbour today.
No.
Yeah, he's in his garden and he stood there, unzipped his flies and got the old fella out. And then he put it back again, moved over, then unzipped his flies again and does exactly the same again. And he kept he's going sideways in his garden doing this. And I went over, I said, excuse me, I said, why are you doing that for? He said, well, I'm doing exactly this, what it said on the seed instruction. It said, scatter thinly and prick out every foot. Sorry, it's a terrible joke, isn't it?
Well, I don't ribald wit and humour within the first few minutes. It's a bit much.
Well, Well, we got some new people in chat as well. which
Oh
is good.
dear, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you
Yes.
survived the show, new people in chat. It's marvellous to have.
well, as I say, I've got my ironing board there just because people like my ironing board. They say it's so nice to see the ironing board. So we've got Fred the
I
plant one
find it
side.
visually quite reassuring, Eric.
Yes.
It's good. The little signs of domesticity are really, they're good for all of us, aren't they? They're really
Yes.
good. They are.
Well,
I've been boiling my, I was cleaning out my distilled water thing today.
yes.
So we have, every now and again, you put salt in it and boil it up, you know, everything. Have it steaming outside. And because we've got a lot of chalk in the water.
Oh, yes. My sister had that in
It's
Royston.
very chalky around here. Yeah, I think it is. It's just chalky in Sussex.
Yeah.
And so the kettles and everything just are full of all this gunk.
Yeah.
So I was just being, that's exciting stuff, isn't it? That's my domestic stuff.
That's very exciting. Well, we get lime scale where I live. It's full of lime.
Yeah.
It's very high lime scale. It's one of the highest in the country. It kills washing machines and things like that and kettles. And but since I use the zero water filter, I don't get any, which is quite nice. I don't get any lime scale at all in my kettle. But
Oh, that's
yes,
good.
so that's a good thing. Now we've actually got Paul.
We're turning into the housewives here.
Yes. Tune in next week for more top tip.
Well, I need to tell you about my curtains.
Oh,
How
oh, you bitch. I've seen your curtains. They're in such a state, aren't they? It's terrible.
Well, they haven't even gone back up, actually. We washed some that are on the upstairs hall landing. I can't believe I'm saying this. They've been hanging over a chair for about a month now. I keep thinking, I want to put them back up again, but it just got, has it been nippy where you are today?
Yeah, it's really, well, it's a Japanese air conditioning day. You know, it's a bit of a nip in the air.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is a bit of a nip in the air. There's always a nip in the air. There's always some Japanese person somewhere on the face of the earth, in the air, in a plane or somewhere. There's always a nip in the air.
That's
and
right.
Probably more than one. But yeah, there has been a nip in the air, which is why I just had to go and close the door because I've still got my shorts on. And my goal is always to get through to at least the end of October in shorts. But if it's everybody's been saying it's going to be a cold spell coming up because there's a lot of berries on the trees. And
That's
things.
right.
That's indicative. Well, you would know about these things. Well, I'm being a city type. I don't know what you're talking about. But no, this is, so I don't mind the cold. Kills all the bugs off.
Well, that's right. I mean, I was looking for some horse chestnut trees today to collect some conkers. And what you do with them, you get the conkers and you put them in a big bag, shove them in the freezer, a couple of hours, get them out, seriously. And that helps to take all the shells off, cut them in half, put them in a blender, add some water and strain the juice out. And you've got free washing liquid for your clothes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But if you're tight-fisted, get like me, you know, you'll save a bit of money. And yeah, seriously, that I'm not joking. That is the top tip. Fockham Hall top tip: how to make organic washing powder. I mean, I don't know if it's there's no chemicals in it, unless someone sprayed chemicals under the tree. But that's it. But there's no conker trees around where I live. I don't know why. A lot of acorns.
Do you need conkers then? Are you in need of conkers?
Yes.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Actually, I'm probably saying it again. I've got about 20 now sitting on the windowsill just outside the kitchen because I'm in my garage converted to the shed of doom. And behind me, there's a really big, mature conker tree. What are conker trees? What are they called? Not oaks, are they?
Conker trees are horse chestnuts.
So it's a horse chestnut tree. And one of them hit me on the shoulder the other day. I'm glad it didn't hit me on the head. They're quite heavy, these things. They're big. Every now and again, a big thump on the flat roof because it's a flat roof garage. You go bong. There's loads of them around here. Absolutely tons all over the place.
It's funny, isn't it?
Maybe I could get up to the school. I said to my lads, did you ever play conkers at school? Of course, clueless. Didn't know what I was talking about.
Oh, we did, yeah.
Yeah, I did, but my lads didn't.
I got a
blinking gone out. Yeah.
Raw knuckles to prove it. But the thing is that no, if you collect them, you can use them. They say that you keep spiders out of your house. Whether that's true or not, some people say it's an old wives' tale. Some people say it isn't. But they don't like conkers. But as I say, you can make your own free washing liquid, and all you need is a little tiny amount of it in the
Yeah.
washing, and it all froths up, and it's all very nice, all soapy. So there we go. But
So
we've
there
got
you go. That's tips for all listeners out there
that's
from the
right.
domestic king, Eric von Essex.
And we got Seamus Tiles Getter. Good afternoon, everyone. That sounds like a very German name. Good dog. So there we are. So and we've got Sue Sprinkle. Hello, Sue Sprinkle. And the first one was Paul. Evening all. Evening.
Evening.
And so he gets the choice of the raspberry to a politician or celebrity of his choice. And there we go. And we got Survival Steve Cowabungle. What the bleeding hell's that mean?
Cowabunga.
Yeah.
Cowabunga. I think this is a term, isn't it, from Bart Simpson? Doesn't he say cowabunga?
I don't know. I've never seen it. And we got
There's some
Marlene.
very, very interesting comments coming in, Eric. Yeah, Barefoot Forager says conkers are great for wrinkles. How come? How so? I don't understand. What do you do? Where are the wrinkles, and what do you do with the conkers? Do you rub the conker on the wrinkle?
Yes.
I mean, not that I have any wrinkles, Eric, because I'm born with perfect skin all
same
the
here.
time. I don't get wrinkly. I wonder what you do with them.
Conkers do keep spiders out the home.
Yeah, you say it. Yeah, go on.
You pick the conker up and throw it at the spider. Sorry. Take that, you little sod. But no, if people go into my bathroom, Aunt Sally, please take note if you're listening. I've got pieces of toilet paper hanging down the side of my bath. You're thinking, he's definitely gone now. He really definitely has gone. And you know what that's for? It's Boris the spider. I call him Boris. Bloody great house spider. Keeps going down into my bath for down to the plug hole, have a drink. He can't get up the bath again. So if you leave toilet paper slapped over the side of your bath, he can get up again. So
it's like a spider escape path, is it, that you've laid on especially?
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's very thoughtful of you. I quite care for spiders. I think they're okay. They don't freak me out at all, to be quite honest. I've always
I like them.
I mean, not the big hairy ones that bite you and kill you. The ones, the venomous spiders. That one that they have in Australia, but I'm not in Australia.
Redback. We've actually got a black widow.
Yeah.
In this country, we've got a black widow in this country. Seriously. It's called and I'm being very serious about that. It's called the fake back widow. And if it gives you a nip, it'll be equivalent to a bee sting. It's quite nasty. And you've got them throughout the country, fake black widows. And they're black. And I think they've got a red stripe down the back of them. So you don't go near them.
Right.
They won't kill you. Yes. But Paul said he would like, please, Gordon Brown, please, for the raspberry. To Gordon Brown. So there we go. So we got that over with. Right. Now on with the show. Gulture. You're probably looking that up in the dictionary. It's only in the Fockham dictionary that you can find Gulture, you see. Sorry. Have you been eating beans again?
That was the Gordon Brown. I think it was just a little a little while to come through. Sorry about that.
I forgot the two finger salute. So I want to get it out and
yeah. You'll need to get your own. We'll need to get your own fart machine. You're going to have to get one. Yeah, raspberry machine. Sorry, being vulgar.
Well, Paul says you put toilet paper in the bath for the spider so he can wipe his mouth after taking a drink. Yeah, that's right. You see, got to think of those things. But
Paul's quite lively tonight, isn't he?
He is
quite lively. What is it? Look, if you cut a horse chestnut seed in half, is that called divide a conquer? What? We're hitting Terry Wogan levels of humour here, which is not a bad thing, really. It's
not
quite
bad.
good.
And it's actually it's called a false widow, not a fake. Did I say a fake widow? I don't know. But anyway, it's a false widow.
Right.
Yeah, we got them over here. And we've also got what are those things? Scorpions in, I think it's Ongar or Hainault in Essex. It's only
Mhm.
round there, but they're not dangerous. They won't kill you. They won't harm you. And they're actually scorpions, but they're sort of
Right.
little timid ones, and they'll run a mile if they see you. So there we go. Anyway, Gulture. What's culture? Well, it's a word I've made up. I mean, for example,
No, I
um,
didn't realise that you'd made it up. Gulture
oh
with a
no,
G. Yeah, you
yes, with a
made
Gulture.
that up.
Yes, and well, for example, in the Fockham Hall Dictionary, godliness is next to cleanliness. But anyway, so that's coming soon. The Fockham Hall Dictionary of bullshit, and now vulture culture. What's happening is I look on the powers that be like vultures picking over the corpse of what was our culture. So, what are we going to do to reinstate our culture? For example, like the Obios in Padstow in Cornwall, and all these different folk things that used to happen because it used to be folk on and now it's folk off, isn't it? So,
Mhm.
any ideas, Paul? What we can do to restore our culture?
Well, that's a big question. I suppose there's loads, really. I'm just going to get all funny and look at this word "our" culture. The word
Hmm,
"our," like who
yes.
are we including when we say that? Um, Sorry to get all precise right at the beginning, but I'm thinking if we like what we've obviously been divided to turn into conkers. All right.
Yes.
This is a continual thing. So Paul's pretty much on the right path with that. I think a question that's been running through my head today and over the weekend, you always got things, is, and we've mentioned this before, I'm sure, is it possible to actually have a communication with the people that are causing all the harm? We call them the woke, don't we? We call them
Mm.
liberals. We call them all sorts of other rude and vulgar things, possibly when we're not fully in
Yes.
charge of our temper in the privacy of our own home. We're not particularly happy with them. I don't think it's possible. I'm always sort of divided in this, thinking, no, we really ought to reach out and all this, that, and the other. But there's no evidence to suggest that that will actually improve things. In fact, there's a lot of evidence to show that it will make things worse. That the mere fact, that you actually want to connect with them to try correct a problem is like an insult to them in many ways, because there isn't a problem, is there, in their world, except us?
That's right. Oh,
Whether
it's an excellent world as far, but they're full of anger. Have you noticed that? They're pent up anger because they probably don't eat meat. And I'm not being against vegetarians. They're not vegetarians. They're vegans because they're not getting the nutrients that they need. And I'm not saying you need the nutrients through meat. I'm not a dietary expert, but there's something genetic or something wrong with those people where they're angry all the time.
where did they come from? Do we think that they existed back in the 1910s? I don't.
I
Do we
know they
think
did.
these sorts of people exist in the 1920s? I'm just thinking about England. Okay, I wasn't around then, but I don't get the impression that they were. I knew my grandma and grandpas that were
Mm,
born in the 1910s and things like this. They just seemed like normal English people. So did my parents.
mm.
Something started going. When did it really start going wrong? I think
60s. 60s.
I think you're right. Actually, I think it's
Mm,
the 60s. Something started to go slightly. It's the Beatles' fault, right? It's those bloody haircuts. No,
mm,
seriously, although I'm joking about that, there's something starts to go wrong in the 60s. I mean, obviously the foundation for it was the 50s, not really immediately after the war, because no
mm,
one had any attention to be psyoped back then. They were too busy sort of, trying to get vegetables and stuff and get spiders out of the bath, and couldn't even afford probably decent toilet paper back then. It was probably all that ISIL, terrible stuff, and all
mm.
these sort of horrible things. So there weren't too many creature comforts around, but you can cope with anything if everybody else is coping with it. I suppose that's a good and a
That's
bad
right.
thing. There's something in the 60s started to go wrong. Yeah. It was very playful, very creative, but it kind of, yeah, all of those things, like the rise of feminism at that time. I'm not
Yes.
picking on that one alone. There's loads of things that went on. All of them sort of came together and started to change, I suppose, the way that families look at themselves. And we talk about this dividing of the family. And so you've created these different sorts of offshoots, these different sort of mini tribes within the tribe. And now we've got a situation where we can't even joke about politicians in the way that we used to be able to, because
That's right.
we used to be a we. So the joke was still an inside joke, inside the clubhouse, as it were. The politician could be ribbed inside the group. But now they're outside of it, or they've pushed us outside of it, or whatever. There's all these sort of separate things that have come up that have built up over time, and people have become habituated to the way that things, unfortunately, have now devolved to. And that's why there's this kind of rudderless sort of feeling.
You're right. I mean, Warren App Arthur in Rumble, because we're also broadcast. Because I should tell people we are broadcasting Rumble. We're broadcasting on YouTube. Main audience is on YouTube, also on Odyssey and Facebook. Oh, and Soapbox Radio and Holy Land Radio. Anybody else?
Yep.
Have I left anyone out? But he said television has brainwashed people here since 1953 AD. But my uncle once summed it up. He said, now my uncle was born in 1918 and my dad was born in 1919. And he said that when they were young, it was an old person's world. And it was an old person's world until the 1950s. And then it became a young person's world because the advertisers found out that, for number one, the younger people were getting money then when they never had before. It was older people that had the money. And of course, that was a marvellous market because youngsters are easily swayed and easily convinced. So they go out and spend their money on records, latest fashions and everything like that because they're generally gullible. Teenagers are generally very gullible. So
it's a nice age, though, isn't it? To put sort of
it's a nice age, but
you say
this is what's happened. It's a young world, and my uncle used to say we grew up in an old person's world. I mean, look at the films years ago; it's all old people. It wasn't young people. There's not many young people in them. You look at the old.
Not even the young people when they say, "Oh, there's a Fiona's going out with so and so in a film or whatever." They even to me when I was young, they looked really, really old. I mean, in terms of. I guess that's because there'd not been a youth culture in between being a young teenager and turning into an adult. Whereas, as we said before, people really just left school at 14 or 15, didn't go into universities and colleges or whatever. So the teachers didn't have them to separate them, I guess, even further from the culture of the family. And so the family culture was very strong. Just because those were the people that you actually spent all your time with. If you were a decent family, and many were. I mean, I know we are only going to hear the stories about the bad ones to prove a point, and there were those, I accept that. But my impression is I didn't sort of sense too much of that when I was growing up in the 70s as a teenager. Most of my mates' parents and everything, they were all pretty decent people, to be quite honest. Oh, and that was the beginning of the tailing off of everything. I'm not blaming any generation. We're just looking at these sort of circumstances that have sort of brought it about.
Well, they reckon that the mods and rockers, that was in the 60s, they'd be having a punch up on a beach, and they used to go to Clacton and Brighton. And an elderly person would be walking along the beach, and they'd both part to let the elderly person or a pregnant woman through, and then they'd go back and carry on fighting. So they had respect for people. And that was the thing. It was respect. They respected the elders, and they respected a pregnant woman and things like that. Would they today? I don't know. But by the way, Daisy44 says, missed you at Survival Steve's talk yesterday in Brighton. We kept a book for you. And that must have been Fake Awake. So there we go. So
I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I got waylaid with home tests and everything. I was actually invited to go somewhere else as well, and I didn't know where to go. So I was also due to go up north, and I had to cancel a lot of those things. So I'm just a bit of a mess. My apologies for that. I'm sorry about that. It just wasn't going to happen yesterday for all sorts of reasons.
That's life, isn't it? I guess you got a note from your parents to make sure that. And we got here. What was it there?
I've got an affidavit which I filed.
Excellent. Excellent. And feminism is terrible. Stephen Truthseeker said, yes. And Paul said, Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah, Operation Mockingbird's the CIA thing to basically invade all the newsrooms of the world and to take over the control of the press so that they all say the same story. Something, of course, which is evidenced repeatedly in that film Barnum World, where it shows you, I'm sure everybody's seen these things anyway over the past 5 or 6 years, but
Brilliant
there'll be
film.
some new, he calls them Barnum statements. They're completely glib bits of nonsense, like "Make America Great Again" is actually a Barnum statement. It doesn't mean anything. It's
Yeah.
nonsense. In fact,
It's
he's
just
not the only
business.
president to say that. I'm not having a go at the American listeners at all. I'm just letting you know we've got the same sort of piffle over here. They're just these things. Or what was the latest one? I remember Build Back Better. You remember that crap? A few years.
And also, this election will be the most important election for generations.
Yeah, in our
The most
lifetimes.
And I say in our lifetime.
Important one in our lifetimes. Yeah,
Yes. That's
it's
it.
always that. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And-
Yeah. So absolutely, we're more stupid because the range of thinking has been narrowed by this
It has.
repetition everywhere. It's not interesting. Like local news doesn't exist anymore, does it? Because of the disappearance of local newspapers. All of these,
Oh, yeah. Well,
you
the
know,
local newspapers are run by the national newspapers. The local one.
well, they've all been
have
bought
been
up by
around-
them. Yeah, they're just
Yeah,
repeating the same stories, and we're supposed to be. I mean, you know, it's rich us saying this. We are consumed by these global things, and there's literally no time for local stuff. We get a local free paper through here, but I can't read it because I don't know. It's the way it's not what it talks about. It's the way it talks about them. Everything's just a little bit trite and happy. It's not
I know
got
what you mean.
local reporting. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It doesn't have a sort of investigative journalist, you know, who's obviously a chain smoker and stays in the pub all the time because he's at his nerves end, reporting on the skullduggery of the council. You don't get any of that. It's just all bland, sort of like everything's
know.
going to be okay. And even when it's a disastrous thing, it's never really, they don't make a big deal about it. They actually want to talk about nice things. And I'm not against talking about nice things, but there is a bit of, it's funny. It's like it's all sort of sickly local news combined with worldwide hell news. And the things, you know, bad,
Yeah,
no
I know.
newspaper ever made money selling good news, did it? So the saying goes.
No. But I know exactly what you're saying. It's like that. I mean, Hertford is the capital of Hertfordshire, obviously. And
Right.
I went there the other week, and I hadn't been there for a long time. It's only up the road to me. And
Yep.
it's hello,
Oh.
hello. You got the sensor phoning out. I can hear it coming through the speakers. Hello.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
There was-
I've
that's
got
all right.
something ringing. Somebody called. I normally turn everything off. I told you I was a bit late to the show today.
Never
So there we go.
mind.
Turned it off. My
Uh,
apologies. Yeah.
No, it happens. I got the phone here. I'll probably go off in a minute. But no, what I was going to say is that it used to have oil shops. You know that smell of an oil shop that you went in. You could buy a certain nails and screws. And the bloke knew little drawers, exactly where to get them, and you know that type of thing. And they went about 10 or 15 years ago, and
Yeah.
the newspaper had been around since 17 something. It's a long, long time. It had been a newspaper. And the offices are now been turned into like a bistro. And everywhere you go in Hertfordshire now, Hertford town, it's all
Yeah.
kind of this kind bistros and cafes and nail bars, and it's for kind of
There's no
I don't
real
know,
work going on. It's not a
That's right.
blend like it used to be. I mean, it's got to,
Yeah.
obviously, this is absolutely down to technology. You know, there's a long chain of events that have led to this. I don't know how local businesses are supposed to make an operating profit, really. The only
I agree
people
with
that to do okay are the landlords who you assume have got a freehold on these commercial high street rental properties, many of which are now empty. And they must have known about this years in advance. I just feel that they're not really hurting that bad. I could be wrong. Maybe they are. But I often thought that even the whole way of renting a shop is kind of, I was never happy with the whole idea. Why is this shop worth this? Well, because it's in this location. But surely it's dependent on some, you know, the business that's put in there having some sense as well. I mean, I've you know, it's like they're entitled to this amount of money. And I'm thinking, well, why? Why? Surely a more honourable arrangement, although I know that the landlords wouldn't like this, is to say, look, I'm going to set up a shop selling, I don't know, secondhand books, and not a very profitable one, but pick something else, whatever. And what I'll do is you'll have access to my books, and we will pay you 25% of our profits all the time. And we know that you want this as a rental. You're just going to have to put it down on credit for now. We'll give you what we've got, so that what we're able to give you, so that we can thrive and grow the business. Then when we hit that peak, we'll then hit the rate that you want, and we'll start to pay back. And you need some kind of agreement. And I think it should be more like a partnership thing. I mean, I'm just a sad sap. Most hard-nosed business guys are not interested in that at all. They just want their money, and that's it. They don't really care whether the thing. But there's such a turnover in shops, and so many people. It's sad, really. We've got a very strange shop here, actually, Eric, and I do mean really strange. It's in an old bank building, which is actually quite a nice building. They're not huge around here because it's a little small seaside town, right? But it's an older building, probably built, I think, pre-war. Proper sort of arches and big windows, all sorts of things. It's nice, and it used to be a bank, and it was okay where it was. Anyway, some guy has moved in and spent a lot of money repainting the whole front and making it look really smart. I mean, it is very, very nice. And it specializes in old toys. It's very odd, really. So it's got very old video games like that. It's got lots of very old toys like Dinky and Corgi and those things in it.
Yes.
It's got kits that were never complete, that were brand new, still in the box from the 1970s, like Tamiya military kits and things. And I'm looking at this, I'm going, how on earth do you make a profit here? And it sells old bicycles like choppers and things, which are completely redone up. It's like a retro shop. Yeah. It gets quite a few.
It's big. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not even open every day of the week. I mean, I think he's open full day Saturdays, 2 or 3 days. It's just closed. He just opens it up. And I was talking to a really nice chap that runs it, talking to him maybe about 8 or 9 months ago, went into the shop. He said, "Can I help you?" I said, "No, I'm just nosy." I said, "This is,"
to be honest, yeah.
I was, and the way the shop is laid out, it's really high standard. I mean, very high. You know, it's like it wouldn't look out of place in some area of Oxford Street. Not that I've been there recently. Maybe that's a dump. I don't know, but I didn't think so. Or Bond Street. It really is to a very, very high standard, which is a bit odd. You know where it is, but it. You know, I'm not that it's for me to find out. I just thought, well, maybe he was so loaded from his This is what he always wanted to do. You know, specialize in these old sort of vintage toys and things like this. The shop was full. There was about 8 people in there buying things, which is relatively big. And then on a weekend, you're sometimes driving past there, and all outside on the pavement, you get all these people dressed up as fantasy characters from films. It's a bit like, like dressed up as the Hulk or people from Star Wars or Doctor Who. They have these sort of things, and I'm going, it's a kind of slight nerds convention. Maybe everybody's into this kind of stuff. I'm familiar with that scene, you know, science fiction conventions, those sorts of things. There are lots of those people. It's a very polyglot mix of customers, but he seems to make it work. I don't know what my point is. It's just that I'm assuming he's not paying rent. Maybe he bought the freehold on the whole thing, so he's not anxious about his turnover. You know, he's got his base costs covered. And it's been there for 3 years now, which is, for what he does, I'm going, wow, you must be. And he was saying that they do ship a lot to internet orders. They get a lot of internet orders, which keeps them busy and sell a lot that way. But that was the other thing. He said, we do advertise on the internet. He said, but because of this market and these sorts of things that we sell, the people travel down from all over the country to come here. We're right on the south coast, so we're not central. Everywhere, if you're not here local, everywhere's a fair distance. I mean, if you're up in Scotland, it's 400 miles to get down here. But there were people come down from everywhere because they want to put their hands on the thing and really look at it before they buy it. And it's a day out for them, and they come round to this sort of fancy knick-knack shop. It's quite interesting. It's not a normal shop, I suppose.
It's fascinating, isn't it, really? Because I've noticed, I mean, the amount of these posh upmarket bistros where you pay a fortune for something, especially in Hartford. I mean, there was a shop there that was selling, what was it, basically bangers and mash, and it was about sort of £17 or something. And it was all, very, very, I thought, well, I can keep it.
How much did that bloody potato cost? £8 for a potato.
£8. But there used to be a fish and chip shop. And I thought, fish and chips is the safest thing to eat because it's deep fried, you see. And, it hasn't been dropped on the floor and kicked around the kitchen half the time. And the fish and chip shop, no, it's now one of these places like a chicken. Everywhere they're selling chicken and chips and chicken and this and chicken and that. And or these glitzy things, or they have shops selling stuff that overpriced junk, like I don't know, a 1920s looking child's pram that you'd sort of stick in
Mhm.
your hallway and put plants in it and things like that. Tat, basically. So that's the weird thing. But Stephen Truthseeker said something rather interesting. I think the Illuminati was talking about what's changed. The Illuminati did rituals
Yeah.
to change the energy. There's a swastika stone in Yorkshire. Now, you're from Yorkshire originally.
I
Swastika
am.
stone? Are you aware of this swastika stone?
I am now. It might be one I nicked and put in my garden. No,
They
I
did.
did.
I've got a funny story about a swastika, actually. They did rituals with that American Charles Manson. So there we go.
All right.
But no, after the war, the German POWs were used as slave labour. And there's this very posh lady who had, and this is supposed to be true, and I think it's near where you are. And
Yeah.
she wanted a garden laid out. And so this very nice gardener, German, did these beautiful, planted all these seeds and that. And he didn't do what my neighbour did, and then I think he went back to Germany. This is before they were sort of repatriated back to Germany. And she thought, oh, what a nice man. And when the next season came round and all the plants had grown, it was a swastika. There's all the sort of like little daisies that he'd done as a swastika right at the front of the house. It says, what is it now? Hatchy Hatchy. Where has our humour gone? I agree with you. It's childish humour now. And I saw that, what's that? It's one female name. What was it called? It was what Blair used to be called, because Blair's a cross-dresser, allegedly, I believe.
Oh, he's angry, you mean?
Yes, he put 2 feet one down one trouser leg. Oh shit! I'm very cross about this.
Dresser. I can't get his trousers on right, Gordon.
Some name beginning with M, I can't remember it. And I thought I'd lost my sense of humour. I sat there, I couldn't find anything humorous in it. And if you found that, modern humour isn't funny. It's just sort of, you just sit there and go, huh? And it's very simple, exceptionally simple for the dimwits.
Based on effing and blinding, a lot of it. I mean, not all of it. It's got weirder as they've sort of, basically it went formulaic, didn't it?
Yes.
Comedy, to some degree, which is not very funny. I mean, it can be very skillful, but long term it can be a bit exhausting, really. And then there's always a kickback, like a new formula, but it's not spontaneous. It's difficult. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we were just spoiled with things. I mean, if you think about like the Two Ronnies was basically a standard format, not dissimilar to any other shows. They had little skits and sketches. They did their own bits solo. They get someone on to sing a song, do a card trick maybe, or whatever. Very entertaining, worked. It was exceptional because of Ronnie Barker, particularly his gifts linguistically. He brought a kind of extra dimension to it that you didn't find in other shows. His love of that and his wordplay. I thought Ronnie Corbett was great too, actually. I mean, it's not as if I found... I know a lot of people hated him being all small, sitting in that chair at the end. I loved the pointlessness of it. I actually quite got into that. I liked the fact that it was a meandering tale that didn't have a punchline. I thought that was quite good, as if you're always expecting one. There never was one. So I thought that was okay. So they were different, but then you got the sketch shows. And then you had Python, which was odd, which was kind of an extension of the Goons, but not really. It was creative in its own way. Yeah. So what Milligan said was, the formats don't have to, we can do anything we like. That's really what Milligan said. We can do anything and we can take the language anywhere. And of course, on radio, you could just describe scenes. They did the craziest things on radio that they couldn't have afforded to do visually. Python sort of extended that. There's been some good stuff. I'll tell you what was good a few years ago for young people, and they still do things was Horrible Histories. Did you ever catch any of those?
No, I don't think I did.
Well, I caught loads when my lads were growing up in the early 2000s. It was a BBC thing with an ensemble cast, many of whom have gone on to do other things, based on these books called Horrible Histories. I've forgotten the author of them. And they're a really great way to learn history. They are, I mean, there's one thing that Python did as well. A lot of their historical stuff is actually accurate, is correct, particularly in Life of
Yes.
not Life of Brian, the Holy Grail. All of that stuff about English medieval life is brilliantly observed, and it's sort of they send it up, but it's
and the
true.
coconuts as well.
Oh, the coconut. Yeah, well, everybody in England had coconuts back then.
Yes.
But,
And did you know the reason why for that? Because the budget was so small in the film, they couldn't afford horses. That's it.
yes, their budget was too small, and so they had to get the
Their budget
coconuts.
was too small.
They
Yeah.
made it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, Horrible Histories was that. I've forgotten the author. So it's all factually correct. And then they would do all these sketches based on it, and they're very funny. They were very funny. It's a rich source of comedy once you sort of view history from a sort of slightly modern perspective. Or that was great. I thought that was really, really good. There was the Fast Show, which is like 25 years ago now. We're talking 1990s, I think.
Suits you,
Well,
so. Oh,
yeah. Big Train was great with Graham Linehan, who's just been done on the tranny front and is trying to go.
That's right.
Has just been hammered because of that. So there has been good stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm not aware of much good stuff like over the last 10 years. But that could be just
Yeah.
me.
well,
Since about 2015, I'm not aware of things where I go, wow, that's really a must watch when it comes to comedy. I've not had that experience.
Mark Anthony, thanks, mate. You always come up with the goods. He said it was Miranda. So here he is.
Right.
He says Miranda. There was that's the one I just don't find funny. But Six Blade, which is Survival Steve, says moral relativism is a tenet of Satanism, and it subconsciously prevents society from exercising their internal moral conscience. To make society more moral and less violence means no government. Spot on, mate. Yep, there we are. And we've got that stone we was talking about. It's very kind of him. Johnny Saraki one in Rumble has said this is the link, and there's a link to it. If you look in the chat room, it's http www.stone-circles.org.uk/stone/swastika-stone.htm. So there we go. There's a website. So look up stonecircles.org.uk with a hyphen in the middle. So thank you very much, Johnny. That's very kind of you. That's much appreciated.
By the way,
And-
Eric, I've just somebody asked about Lego with
Mhm.
regards to that shop I was whittering on about a few minutes ago. They may
Yeah.
do, but I found the link to the shop and I've put it in the YouTube chat, so you can see the photos. And I just saw they had a DeLorean out there as well. I remember, and there's an image of that. You know, the DeLorean car from Back to the
DeLorean,
Future.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
and
into of Hollywood film props and stuff, and there's obviously a big market for all that kind of stuff. And
wow.
yeah.
I've
They
got a
might
load
do Lego. They might do old
they
Lego.
might.
Look at it.
I've got a load of crap. Sorry, quality goods in my loft that needs sorting out. So I could go. I could take a trip down, see you as well, and dump it. Sorry, give it. Sell it to the gentleman. I make a nice handsome profit. And if I make some money, I'll treat you to some Smarties. Only one Smartie, of course, out of the tube, not the
Oh
whole
yeah,
lot.
I'm looking at it. They've got a full-sized Iron Man suit. I must go and get that. I've always
Yeah.
wanted one when I was a kid. They're much better now.
No, mate.
But they don't really exist, you see, except in Elon Musk's laboratory.
Well, we got Rocky Road to Love 17 in Rumble. That's why you can't see him on if you're in YouTube. Big government destroying the hearts of communities, post offices, local hardware shops, even pubs. The pubs were like a mini republics for men to vent about politics and share ideas. Spot on. A lot of inventions were invented on the back of a bloody beer mat. Seriously.
I know. I miss proper pubs. I do. Not that I'm a beer drinker anymore. Not that I even was, but that's a good point. Rocky also mentioned I'm Alan Partridge was sublime. Yeah, he's right. He absolutely was. So there's a few I've forgotten. Yeah,
Yes.
and the Alan Partridge films were pretty good, particularly the one have you seen the one in the radio station, Eric? Have you seen that one?
Right. Yes.
It's
Yes.
just
Have you seen the one where he's a social worker and he gets involved in some? They think he's a spy or something,
yeah,
and there's a fantastic scene, and only he could make it work. Now I'm going to explain the scene to you, and it won't sound funny, but Alan Partridge bloke, he is actually the part of a social worker. He gets thrown in the river, and as he comes out, he's got all muck all over him, and he's got a condom over his finger. Now
yeah.
that doesn't sound funny, but when you see it and the way he acts it, you're off your seat with laughter. I mean, it's just, and again, it doesn't sound funny; it's visual, and they were, I think they were sending up the third man because they meet in a fairground. I haven't
Yeah.
seen the whole film, and he's supposed to be talking to these top level MI5 or something, and he can't stop throwing up because he's going on one of these switchback things, and it's all, it's all going. Because they think he's a super spy, but he isn't. He's a social worker. But Alice Gulture threatens Little Britain. Yeah, I couldn't stand it. I just did not get Little Britain at all.
Me neither. That wasn't for me. I tell you, it's an acquired taste. I never acquired it at all. 35 seconds was enough. I can't stand either of the guys that do it. Sorry, Alice. That's one that's missed.
There's something. I don't know what it is about them that I find them too effeminate.
I find them pervy.
Pervy. I think you've summed it up.
Like it. There's an undercurrent of perviness about it, and I'm not really into blokes dressing up as women all the time. Not the way they do. Anyway, I mean, I'm dressed obviously as a woman right now, Eric. It's the only way I can get into character for the show.
Well, that's right. You know, and,
I was late slightly for the microphone because I hadn't my hair done properly. But yeah.
Well, I've had my hair done properly. I went to the hairdresser.
I know. You look lovely tonight, Eric. You look really.
Okay, so we go there. Now, Alice Gold says people's IQ is very low. They'll watch anything. Yes, you're right. And did you? Do you remember Police Academy? And that was on in the early 80s. With
the vulgarization of things, yeah, but there's some funny scenes.
Police Academy, it's classic, and it was that.
It's like an American version of Carry On, really, wasn't it? Don't you think?
Yes,
like a group ensemble piece with lots of silly bits in that really weren't, but designed to create gags intentionally, and they work.
That's right. Yes. At the end of the show, they all stopped like this in front, and Leslie Nielsen, that was it. He was in it, and he said it didn't work in America. It's a flop in America, but a complete success in Britain. And he said the reason why it was too sophisticated for much of the American audience, whereas that sophistication still in humour still existed in the early 80s in Britain. So we could see the funny side of it.
I thought Police Academy was a series of films which have not got Leslie Nielsen, and it isn't Leslie Nielsen's Police Squad.
Oh, correct. It's Police Squad. Terribly sorry, I got that wrong. It's Police
all right.
Squad.
You're right. Police Squad's brilliant, particularly that tall guy whose head never comes in within the top frame, and they're always looking up at him.
That's it. Do you remember that? When they police one side the door, a glass door, and Squad the other side. Do you remember that? And all different. You had to watch, and a clock that went back to front as well. Loads of things like that. Oh, they were also interrogating a chimp in the back. That was another one that they did.
Yeah, well, that's about all you can do with chimps is interrogate them. Very clever little beasts.
And Jojo is back. Oh, by the way, thanks, Jojo. You've joined my Gab channel along with you, Paul. So thanks a million.
You joined mine as well. Isn't it lovely? Isn't it incestuous? Thanks very much for that. Yeah, I put a few things up on Gab today, and then I got involved in it, and I just thought this is pretty cool. I mentioned I put a little post out on Telegram. You can now upload MP3 files straight into Gab, into your Gab posts. You couldn't do that.
Really?
Yeah, you had to sort of. If I wanted to do that, I'd have to sort of turn it into a video and stick an image on it because that's the only file format it used to accept. But I tried an MP3 today, and it just uploaded it. It's got a little player in there, so for little. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I think.
Can you go live on there? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk across you. Can you go live on there? Yeah.
Get a pro account and pay them. They used to. They did have a video platform, but I don't know whether it's still sort of chugging along. Those things take up a lot of resources. But I've often thought that they were doing a great job, and it may well come more to the fore if Telegram turns around to bite us a bit. There's always that possibility, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Telegram's so amazing. I think I'm serious. I know it sounds a bit nerdy saying it, but it's so ridiculously well designed and works. You don't even know you're using it. It's that good,
I know,
and
it's good.
the speed of it is absolutely astonishing. It just is. I mean, I don't know how many what stuff it's handling, and I'm just thinking, where do you really get all that money from to do that? I know then the guy was one of those young guys in the WEF, the Russian guy, very bright, and his brother apparently is the one that came up with all the encryption codes. The fact is, it's beyond. You and I are not going to live long enough to work all that stuff out anyway. Now there's anybody else, to be quite honest. So
I worked it out. I was fixing the levy this morning.
oh, you're one of those clever little English types.
I thought I was just dealing with the float, you know, and bending it. I was thinking, I must work out how Telegram works, you know. But and if you believe that bullshit, you believe anything. But Jojo Gizmo said, I went to an Errol Brown memorial picnic once. It started with a quiche. Sorry.
Yeah, we quite like that.
Now we got here. What was it? Aunt Sally. Hello, Aunt Sally. What are you in the bath? Out of the bath? Could you please send us a picture? You know, we'll pay good money for it. Sorry. When you think about the pro-regime blocks. Oh, by the way, don't tell Aunt Sally this, but she makes bloody good cakes. She came into Miles' shop the other day and wow, hit the spot it did. When you think about the pro-regime books that David Williams has written since Little Britain, like The Boy in a Dress and others, he is a system degenerate pig. Oh, you're praising him.
Yeah, he is. That was he hadn't revealed his full hand then, but even when they came out, there's something about his manner that I just don't like. That's it. You know, when you instantly don't like someone or there's no future in it, not even anything. There's something about him I find creepy. And the boy in the dress or something, it's like, get stretched, mate.
Well, you know, precisely. I mean, children are being immersed
right about
in
me, did she? Nah.
But he writes children's books as well. I mean, children.
Well, he's not. He's subverting the youth with stuff like that by design.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely is.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we got some Fockham headline news.
Yes.
Yes. So, newsflash. Aunt Sally, not in the bath just yet. Only just got in from walking the dogs. Would you take the MPs out?
Yeah.
So walking the dog. Oh, so hotline news there. So you know, stand by your beds.
I like Bath News. Bath News is good, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Now, Barefoot Forager says. Now it says, sadly, kids love David Williams' books. He's definitely the modern Roald Dahl. Reminds me of a Savile. Allegedly, you believe. So, I thought about what I had that in. Yes.
Well, I think he might be being positioned as the modern Roald Dahl, but I don't think he's ever going to be in that league. He seems like a media. Look, maybe I'm being really awfully unfair to the guy. I don't know enough. I just, you know, whatever. We just have to see. Dahl's books are amazingly dark, really. They are dark.
And did he ever learn
something really hideous, horrible in them? That's what kids like. Yeah, there's a threat. There is a real element of danger in Dahl's books. You think he discovered that, you know, like in every fairy tale, if you actually sort of worked it out in real life, you go, that's pretty horrible, actually. It's portrayed in a really, yay, what an exciting story. But when you go, oh, that's actually grinding people's bones for bread. That's pretty horrible.
But did he write Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Roald Dahl?
No, that was Ian Fleming, who also wrote 007.
Did he? Because you had the child catcher in there. But
that's horrible. Yeah,
but did Roald Dahl ever eventually, before his life came to an end, learn how to spell his real name, which was Ronald?
No, it had,
no, it's Ronald, not Roll. Keep trying.
You mentioned before that thing that Peter. I'll have to dig it up and play it on the show. Where Peter Cook does an impersonation of Tales of the Unexpected, and he sat in front of the fire. He goes, "Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Roald Dahl. Actually, that's not true. My real name's Ronald. I just removed the N to sound more mysterious." I just so great.
That's right. Now, by the way, reconciliate. That's Patrick. He would like. Hang on a minute. Where are we? Sally, a listener, wants the recipe for sweet potato brownies. And once you've done the recipe, I'll post it out on my Telegram channel, and I might, if I'm in a good mood, put it on Facebook as well. But I'm finding things seem to go missing on Facebook. I don't know why. You know. Paul said, I always thought Roald Dahl books were curry recipe books.
What's he been on today?
He's on something tonight.
He's on summer. Put
Yeah.
that book down, Paul.
More Aunt Sally bath news. Here it comes. It's I tend to loll in the bath with lavender oil in the water, partly because it's the warmest since nicest smelling place in the house, and one of immense peace. That's nice, isn't it? Yes.
Yes. Lol's a nice word, isn't it? Isn't lol
Yeah.
a nice word? I like lol.
Lol.
Lolling around. Yeah.
Jojo Gizmo says, I thought Shitty Titty Bang Bang was a scat porn movie.
This is a show, Mr. Gizmo or Mrs. Gizmo.
Yes.
Got to be a bloke, not a
Yes.
lady. Write a thing like that, would they? Would
No,
you,
ladies would no. Ladies don't think like they don't.
No,
But I tell you what I had today. Talking about the height of ignorance, I did a massive trade deal with a major supermarket.
I'm pleased.
Yes, I bought a packet of lettuces for 56p or in the bargain part. So that's quite a bit, 50 cents pence out of my pocket. You know, took a long time thinking about it. So that's a big trade deal. Anyway, as I was walking back, there's there's this sort of there's loads of trees and there's a grass area, and there's the path, and I'm walking along, and then some arsehole had his dog on one of these extender leads, extending right across the pavement. And it was a busy road, so I couldn't step into the road. So I just sort of stood there and waited and waited and waited and just looked at the bloke, looked right through him. I tried not to blink. And then he went, oh, I think this bloke wants to come over. Come on, Rover, whatever his name was. So the dog, he doesn't say, I'm terribly sorry, sir, or anything like that. Oh, no.
He addressed you directly about your inconvenience. He talks around you as if you weren't there.
Speaking to the dog about, I think his man wants to come through and all this sort of stuff. So I felt like saying, do you know how to kick a rugby football? I haven't got one here, but I've got one that looks like one with four legs, because that's what I felt like saying that. Anyway, he pulled the dog out of the way, so I did a very loud tut and sort of looked rather disgusted.
Did you? Did you tut for England?
I tutted. I did an old English tut. And as I walked along, I had this prod in the back of my legs and near my arse. It's a bleeding dog. So I've got a wet nose patch in my trousers now from the bleeding dog. So I wasn't too pleased about that.
You can't even go shopping these days, can you?
Have a wet nose up your arse, you know. You just can't go shopping.
You can't even go bloody shopping. I don't know.
What gets me with people is a dog licks its arse and it comes along and licks people's faces. Does that put you off? I don't know. I've never understood that.
I'd rather not think about that too much.
No, that's right. You see that David Kenny Everett sketch? They're all sitting around a meal table and he goes, Rover, that's disgusting. He holds his nose, opens the door, get out, and the dog walks in. But I worked with a bloke who had a bulldog, and he said bulldogs are notorious for farting. He said they're terrible. They're the worst fart dogs you could ever wish to have. And he said it was very embarrassing when Bill came round because this thing would fart for England. But now Alice Gorgeous said, I shall never mention Little Britain after hearing about those revolting books. Was mopping the kitchen floor, not the bath.
mopping the
right.
kitchen floor. We've got a picture there. So Alice is
Yes.
mopping the floor, and Aunt Sally's about to plunge into the bath from a great
Yeah.
height
Yes.
off the top of the cistern. Ploosh.
That's right. Now we've got South Coast Rich. Hello, South Coast Rich. He
Hello,
must be
South
living
Coast
near
Rich.
you. I love
Everybody on
many.
the coast is rich, Eric, by the way. We're all rich on the South
Oh, yes.
Coast. That's what it
Yes,
means.
rolling
South
in
Coast,
it.
rich, very loaded. That's what it means.
And
Yeah.
I might become rich if I go down to that toy shop with all my old toys, which I've got in the
Probably
lot.
will. A very good chance of it.
I got a Space Hopper, the original, that my parents bought.
Okay.
Boing, boing, boing. Do you remember Space Hoppers?
I do, yeah. I thought they might be a better alternative to all those bicycles in London. They would
Yes.
you get a free
Yes.
space hopper, everybody bouncing around. Be a bit slow, wouldn't it? But would make for a good comedic effect, I think.
Do you remember spring shoes as well? There's springs on the bit of bottom of kids'
They would
shoes,
have-
and I think that's A&E was so full of kids with broken legs after those things, they took them off the market.
yeah. Yeah, not particularly well thought through. The thing I always
No.
wanted, the transportation thing I always wanted when I was young. You remember the banana splits from America?
Yes.
They had those buggies, didn't they? They all had a buggy that they drove around in. I thought it was the coolest thing ever when I was 9 or 8. It's
Mm.
late 60s, wasn't it? The banana splits.
Yeah.
Tra la 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 la.
Yes, and
Banana,
South Coast
banana,
Rich says,
sorry, everybody.
I know. I love many British comedies from the 1970s onwards, including relatively current ones such as The Office. Oh, I just couldn't handle The Office. I just sat there. I thought I'd lost my sense of humour. Oh, I like Blackadder, yes. Any of the Alan Partridge series, yes. The Thick of It, Peep Show, and many more. But
I thought
one
The
was
Office
The
was
Office.
amazing. It's so toe-curlingly awful. That's what it.
Yes.
It's a comedy through excruciating awfulness. He's the most embarrassing figure ever. It's yeah.
It was excruciating. Haji says Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was a good movie. And I once saw a lorry that was 7-Up lorry. And somebody scrapped it. I mean, I'm so innocent, I don't understand what it meant. It's just did you know that Snow White likes 7-Up? Drink, I mean. Just sort of mention that,
I sensed an undercurrent of some vulgarity in
Smart.
that.
No, would I be vulgar? I mean,
Whether
let's
it's
face
my bad turn of mind on these things, or whether it really was. Yeah.
Now, Paul Mohammed, hello, Paul. A woman dressed in white while walking in the park got sprayed in mud by a dog, and she screamed, "Is that a dog? Is that your dog?" And I said, "No, but he followed me home." Okay.
Well, it's your dog now.
Oh yes, it's like does your dog bite? Oh, it's just bit me. Well, it's not my dog. Sorry. Yes. Slack bladder. Yes, slack bladder and a cunning plan. And I like Lord Flashhard when he came on. That was acted Rick Mayall, wasn't it? As Lord Flashhard, and that
Flash. Yeah, he was. Wasn't he supposed to be the grandson of Flashman from the Tom Brown thing? Or maybe I'm just making that up. I know that George Fraser, who wrote the Flashman novels, it was about the life, wasn't it? About the bully from Tom Brown's school days and his life after that, supposedly as a grown.
Yes. Well, I didn't realise that, but that was classic, and I think the last scene when they went over the top, even though it was a comedy, was so well done. It was one of the most. It was very well done, and but I like the ways they tried to get out of going over the top. Blackadder himself. I mean, Rowan Atkinson is a fantastic actor. He really is. The way he took that part off,
Mhm.
But that with and Stephen Fry, even though I don't like him as a person, he was a good actor in that. He worked that. He acted that part of was it Major or something? I think he was trying to take off one of the generals, wasn't he, or in the First World War? But he did it very well, But now Hachi says, laugh out loud. Debbie Does Dallas was better. Don't know that one. Heard of that one? Debbie Does Dallas? Don't know. No, can't say I've heard of that one. maybe a bit before my time. Now, Paul said, I went to another zoo, and in the first cage there was a baguette, and the next one was a cob. I asked the zookeeper, what are they? And he said, they are bred in captivity. Oh, dear, oh, Lord. Oh, no. So that's a terrible one. But no, this is the thing. Our culture has gone. It's disappeared. We used to have
It has everything.
yeah,
Just about everything's gone, really, which sounds awfully black pilled, but I think we've got to just see it. We've been. I did a little thing today, Eric. Well, I did several little things, but one of the little things I did was on the show on Thursday that we just did. I read out a little bit towards the end from an essay by Cambria Will Not Yield.
yes.
And it was about Babylon. It's an essay from 2012. And I didn't read all of it out because there are certain lines in it that would be deemed inappropriate, as it were.
Mhm.
But I recorded the whole thing today. It's about 15 minutes, and I stuck it up on my Gab account. And I'll probably just stick it up somewhere. I've been thinking about doing these sort of like audio booklets, like, 10, 15 minutes, stuff like that, things that I think are interesting, that are worth just voicing. Apart from, I tend to do it as well because I kind of learn it a bit better. But it talks in there about the loss of all of these things. And one of the things it talks about, or that the author, he's no longer alive, unfortunately, but one of the things he mentions is that they've conquered all of these areas, which is an unpleasant thing for me to say, but we have to just look at the way it is. And they've destroyed all the areas that used to produce the kind of culture that we lived in. And it's not really that long ago. I'm sort of surprised by how quickly this has happened. No doubt the presence of electronic media for the rapid transmission and repetition, particularly of their stuff, is what's caused it to change so quickly. I'm absolutely convinced of that. I think, if we go back pre-1950s or whatever, like we were saying, the local community was held together by radio. You would have local radio stations, the local newspaper, the parish halls, local theatres, a little bit of TV, but most people really didn't even get TVs until the 60s, I don't think. I think we had one when we were really young, but it was a big deal. They cost an awful lot of money, and most working class people couldn't afford them, so probably went down the pub to watch them. Not that there was much on. So the whole sort of penetration into your life from TV and electronic media was at a minimal then. It was very, very low in comparison to now. And I think this is what's enabled them to actually take things. This repetition of these meaningless, trite slogans, they're very powerful because of the sheer scale of them. Branding.
That's right.
The mind gets branded, gets used to these things, and stops questioning because it's boring. And then you just realize that everybody's accommodated and is now going that way. And yeah,
you're right. I mean, I've been thinking. I mean, I don't like giving my plans over the air before they actually go ahead because I might not go ahead. But I've been planning out an idea of just doing like 15-minute things that can go on TikTok or for our idea that we've got coming up, where armchair tourist, where for example, as you know, I don't live too far from Waltham Abbey, and that's where Harold, our last king, is supposed to be buried. So I want to research, where's the burial site? Is there any proof? Is it true? Was he buried there? And film, I think you can film inside the abbey. And so people like Patrick in America can say, oh, that's what it's like. And then in sort of 10 minutes, very, very short, go around the museum, very short thing. And also show that strange carving on the corner of where Miles Fleetwood has got his shop, which is a hermaphrodite type figure that's
right.
years old, and it's a mystery. He said, look at that. And it's sort of half male, half female. Very peculiar.
Yeah, this stuff is old, and it's a key part of their agenda of the those that are against God.
Well, no, but this was about 400 years. I mean, Waltham Abbey is very oldie-worldy, and this, what it is, it's like a gallows bracket that sort of sticks out, and they've got jetties. Now, jetties, not as in what you find in harbours, but it's where you have the upper floor of a building wider than the lower floor. And that's what they used to do years ago. And that's where you used to sort of stand underneath the jet. It's called a jetty, and it goes up, and you got the eaves, and then got the roof over that.
Yep.
And what happened is, it's a bit. I wouldn't say it's like the shambles in York, but it is oldie worldy, and this building that Miles is in, I don't know how many 100 years old it is, but it's very old. It's not listed though, and it's a barber shop next to where he is, and this sort of like gallows bracket is holding up a part of a jetty. And it, as I say, it must be about at least 400 or 500 years old, and it's a hermaphrodite carving. Very weird. So
Yeah, there's been well, it's definitely part of the other side's agenda. This, whole thing that they've beefed up. This whole thing. I think it's to do anything that's an insult, and a degradation of the natural order of life.
yes,
I mean, it's not profound. I'm just sort of repeating it. Everybody kind of knows that, but it's definitely a key part. Everything is to be turned upside down. Good is to be bad. They've written all this stuff down. The victims
good, bad is good.
to be punished. The perpetrators are to be let off and exonerated, and that they did it because you caused them to be that way. It's your responsibility that they attacked you and beat you up because you've created an environment in which they can't do anything else. So for getting beaten up, you're going to go to prison and they'll be let off,
Well, this is what your impressionist said. He said, once upon a time, the policeman was respected. Now, the crook, you feel sorry for him. Oh, he's a nice enough bloke. And these nasty, evil police people are just locking him up. And he only murdered a couple of people, I mean, they could be a bit lenient with him, that sort of thing. That's what Yuri Bezmenov said in the early 80s when he did that talk about ideological subversion. And what he said is spot on, But Warren Arthur in
don't you think that, everything he said is spot on? And, earlier when we were just talking about the laughable notion, really, of trying to communicate with people on that other side, they really are, or they have fully embraced the idea or have become victims of ideological subversion. They can't even see it. They can't even see it. That little essay thing I was talking about earlier a few minutes ago, from Cambria Will Not Yield, talks about them basically not seeing the real world. They don't see it. They actually don't see flesh and blood human beings. What they see is an idea that's being attacked. Everything to them is academic. It's not real. They don't live in a real place where real human beings get hurt. They live in a world where their ideology, if you hurt that, it's the worst thing. They view everything as an abstraction. Yeah,
you're right.
It's all intellectual and academic, and they're never really concerned with the plight of real people in actual pain, living in doorways. It's and really they do echo Stalin's thing that. Actually, it's probably even worse than that. He said that one death is a tragedy, but a million's just a statistic. A statistic. I sometimes find it difficult, as you can tell, to say that. And that's really what they're like. They're all about numbers and stuff, and it's bizarre. But I think it's bizarre because they're gone. I think they're gone. They're in the pit. This is and it doesn't look weird at first. It's only as you're around it and see their behavior that there's something not right with these people. And can you have a communication at all with people who are not right? They're just not.
Oh, you're spot on. I mean, I've worked with that type, and they could argue that it is possible to suspend an elephant over a cliff with its tail tied to a daisy. Now, we know that's impossible, but they would say, oh, no, we can get, you can calculate it out. It can be done because it's so impractical. None of them are practical. And they are telling practical people what to do. And I think with this AI that they keep going on about, that is possibly the final nail in the coffin, because you're going to have a lot more. Well, the unemployment in this country now is 9 million. In the 80s, it was 3 million. And they're covering it up with all different courses and things like that. But,
But it's because they want this. They
sorry?
want this. I think the AI thing as well could be a benefit to mankind, but it won't be. Just like all the other technical things that have come along, it'll only be a benefit to those that are currently in control of it, and they're going to make sure that they get all of the benefit from that. And they're thinking, all of their language, ever since the Club of Rome started with this, there's too many people on the earth crap. No one knows whether there's too many or not too many. This is just completely nonsense.
This is.
It's absolute nonsense. When you improve the quality of life for people and design it right in terms of the actual requirements that we physical flesh and blood family building people require, all people should be family builders, whatever your race or culture. Because it's the greatest institution you can come up with. When you design that, you end up with extremely stable families. You end up with more leisure time being available to the father and the mother, who can spend more time with their children. And the children therefore grow up much healthier and stronger, like plants grown gently but caringly over a period of time, not rushed through some schooling system to bend their head out of whack and become miserable. You don't therefore allow cultural Marxist indoctrinated demoralized oafs into the teaching profession, teaching them about sex and all this other crap that they don't even need going into their head at all, ever. As I've said, the stumbling, awkward, embarrassing thing is one of life's great rich passages. And every other previous generation, apart from modern progressive education, had that. We didn't do too bad, did we? We've got through 5 or 6 or 10 or 20, 50,000 years. It's not, they talk about it as if it's rocket science. It's not. It really isn't. All the basics are wired up to do. They've interfered with the foundations, telling you that they're wrong. And they literally offer nothing except progress. And there isn't any of it because we don't need it. It's totally surplus to requirements. Because I think also,
right.
Eric, part of this conversation, these people on this other side would, if the conversation rolls through, find out that they are valueless as individuals. Literally, they are non-contributive. In every
that is spot right on. They are valueless. And what's got me is in the 60s, now, all right, we were very young in that time, but there all these Dr. Spock and all these child rearing books came out. Now, once upon a time with a family unit, if you had children and there's a problem, you'd ask granny or granddad who would know, because they had years of looking after children. And, my mother used to consult with her mother. And I think I had an ear infection or something. And they didn't have health service is useless. But what I'm going to say is that years ago, people had a good knowledge of how to cure themselves. And she said to my mum, fill a sock full of salt, heat that sock up and put it on his ear, and that'll draw the whatever it was out. I can't remember, I was so young. And it worked. That's an old wives' thing. And any problems like that, she'd ask her mum, because her mum knew, because she'd been there, seen it, got the T-shirt. And that's the thing. This is what we haven't got now. This family unit where they can consult with people. And I think that's what has happened. People be frightened to go a bit freaky because they don't want to show themselves up in the family. Now they can give a shit because they haven't really got much of a family. Because, mother and father are divorced. They've been brought up in a nursery. So the early days, they weren't close. They didn't bond with their mothers, which is a very, very important part of childhood, bonding with your mother. And then you bond with your father. And that's it. I mean, once upon a time, I'm thankful for my dad for showing me DIY and how to fix things. And that's why where I live, if anybody wants anything fixed, they always come knocking on my door. So I'll fix anything from vacuum cleaners, but I don't get bleeding paid for it, but I don't do it for money. I just enjoy it. But this is the thing. We never had a repairman at home. I guess you didn't, because Dad repaired it. That was it.
Yeah.
And but David said, same with October the 7th claims compared to what is going on now. This is a common trick of a certain groups to align a few deaths and hide millions. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the problem. And oh, by the way, Patrick's a bit. He's got a guest on, which I'm quite envious of. I think you might be. Do you know what guest? Yeah, do you know what guest Patrick's going to have on a show? I think it's on his show. I'm not sure. I think it's
John
Holy
Wayne.
Land Radio. Father Maudsley. Now, Father Maudsley, he's the one that's been talking about a subject
English
we're not
guy
allowed
that's
to.
videos about the Holocaust.
Yes, a subject mustn't
He's a
mustn't
Catholic
discuss.
priest, isn't he? That's had
That's
a
right.
lot of trouble. Yeah.
And he's been banned from YouTube, apparently. So
Mhm.
last I heard. So I don't know what it's going to be. Patrick's going to send me the link, and I'll put the link on Telegram if anybody's interested. But it's I don't know. I mean, I suppose because Patrick's a Catholic, that's how he I don't know, but he just say he's got him on the show, and now
Yeah, that should make
Warren,
a good show. He said some really
yeah,
good.
it really be
There's a lot of-
interesting.
There's kind of, it's like everybody's got a difference of opinion about everything, don't we?
That's right.
So, and if you were to do it as one of those big charts, it's to do with the areas where we overlap, and I think in the really important areas we do. There are other areas where we don't, which we think are important, and they may well turn out to be very, very important as well. I think that should be good. That's great.
Should be
Well done,
interesting.
Patrick.
So
Yeah,
I'll
that
put
should make
a
for a
link
good.
there
That should make for a good
because
show. Yeah.
I won't go into it, obviously, because we're on YouTube, but everything should be open for discussion, polite and respectful discussion. Apart from that subject.
I'll tell you what, Eric. I'll send you some realism tablets in the post. Okay, you're obviously you're obviously living in the land of the free, and I'd love to come and join you there. I think it's where we all should be. But as you know, this is a loony bin. And of course, they've done the boiling frog thing by just slowly stepping up the amount of arrests and that they make about people that do hurty posts. And of course, there's a whole publicity machine around letting us know that they've done this. This is not by accident. It's not like
you see the fake one where some schoolgirls dressed up as, so they say, as police officers to say that they're arresting. No, not arresting. They're coming to see a girl about looking at a post. And they reckon it might be fraud. I think it might be. So, you don't know what to believe now. Now, Warren Arthur in Rumble said teachers are witless regurgitators. Spot on.
Yeah, they didn't used to be, you know. They didn't used to be. I remember, I can't think of many teachers that I really disliked. There was a couple. And why did I dislike them? It wasn't that they wasn't that they were thick. It was that they were distant in their communication. They were not personable enough to engage my interest as a human being. And they were so academic and distant. My chemistry teacher was very bright about chemistry, was qualified up to the nines. But for me, he just couldn't put it across. He never cracked a smile. I never felt a human connection with him as another human being. And until that's there, I'm not listening to no one. You know what I'm talking about? As when you're 14 and 15, and I hated chemistry because of it. And yet I think chemistry is probably amazing, really, because it's about the substance of matter, isn't it? And how it works.
Well, that's right. I mean, I love modern history, but ancient history I'm not all that about, And history at school, it was made boring, all about the old kings and queen did this and king did that. And we had Mr. Piggott who used to come along. Okay, copy this down on the board. And he'd be marking books whilst we're all copying down what he's written on the blackboard. Lazy sod, And I said this last night, so I won't repeat myself too much, but we had a supply teacher come in, a contract bloke. And boy, we took that. This is when Piggott went on holiday. Boy, wasn't he interesting. And he said, "Oh, what's all this?" And he was the first one where we could sort of sit back, make notes of what we wanted to make, and he just walked around the class doing a lecture. And everybody was relaxed. And he was talking about World War II. He knew because he was in it. So he's taking it from memory. And he told us quite a few things.
I had some ones when I was younger that had the most amazing names. When I went to junior school, so that's infant school's 5 to 7, right?
Yes.
And then junior school was 7 to 11 because I took my 11 plus. And I can remember my teacher in my first year was Mrs. Grimes, good old
Mrs.
Northern.
Grimes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Mr. Grimes worked
Miss
there as
Hall
well. And Mr. Grimes was the music teacher, but he was deaf and he had a massive deaf aid on his ear. And he used to play the piano too loud so that we couldn't sing above it because he couldn't tell how loud he was playing. He was great. The headmaster was called Ernest Smelt. I'm serious, as in the yeah, Smelt. And he was also an apiarist, and there was a beehives there at the school. So this is when I'm 7, 8 years of age,
Wow.
and every single person in the school at some point, Mr. Smelt would come in as a substitute teacher and take you into the beehive for the afternoon after lunch. And that was fascinating, absolutely amazing. He said it, and he was quite loud, but very warm as a person. I always remember very warm personality, but very loud. Yeah. And then there was a teacher that I had year 2. So how old would I be then? 8.
Yeah.
A guy with the most amazing name, Mr. Sterica. Seriously, isn't that fantastic?
Oh, we had boring names throughout. Mr.
Sterica, and he looked. We were all scared of him when we were in the first year because we'd see him walking around, and he looked very strong face, tall, about 6'2", like a sort of British doctor from the 1950s. Yeah. Big glasses, jet black hair, very tall, very, very sort of stern face. But it was the most fantastic year with him because he was nothing like that when he was your teacher. He was just amazing. It was so much fun. And I remember, do you remember that book, Stig of the Dump?
Yes.
You ever familiar with that? About the young lad that falls in the dump. There's a cave boy that lives in there called Stig. Well, he read that to us. Yeah, on a Thursday afternoons, and I just got lost in that story. It was just fantastic. Couldn't wait for story time. You know, that magic of stories when you're young, it's a wonderful thing. I can sort of evoke it now, but I've not felt it much as I've got older. But it's a great thing.
Evolved from that, a similar idea.
Right.
And the film Catweasel, the second series, was filmed just up the road to where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And where was it now? Bayford. It's filmed at Bayford, which is just up the road to me. So, that was Catweasel. That was quite funny, actually. But now we got it. Hang on, I've lost myself. Where am I?
You know that thing we're just talking about education as well. Look, there's a little line here, a little paragraph from this this essay that I was just looking for it. This doesn't take long. It's only 4 lines. It says this. He's talking about liberaldom, which is the problem, right? He says, a world such as liberaldom, which is opposed to reality, must have cradle-to-grave propaganda, right? Indoctrination. Yeah. The great push for a universal educational system from which no child will be left behind. Do you remember that baloney about 8 years ago?
And what was it? Education. Remember that, Tony Blair?
Yeah.
3 times.
The blind leading the deaf, really, and all this kind of stuff. It says, no child will be left behind, is a thinly disguised program to make every white man, woman, and child denounce their European rights of memory and consign their souls, which are white, to the devil. This is spot on.
Who wrote this?
This is Cambria Will Not Yield. I used to read this. I can't rate this. Listen, some of the things he writes will leave an awkward sensation as you read them. He used to be a law enforcement agent, but not a street cop. The guy is so educated. It's brilliant stuff. And he used to write an essay every Saturday. He used to get published about 2 p.m. And he wrote them from 2006 to when he died in 2021. That's 15 years of these things.
And who was this fella again?
Pardon?
Who was this fella again? What was his name?
Well, he never revealed his name, but his website is CambriaWillNotYield.com. CambriaWillNotYield.com.
Still there.
Pardon?
He's still there, even though he's died. That's marvellous.
Oh, yeah, his family keep it going. I used to basically, my Saturday afternoon was a treat. About 2 p.m., 3 p.m., it'd pop up, and I'd just sit there. I learned a lot about Jacobins from him, about Edmund Burke, about Sir Walter Scott, the novelist, Yes.
Yes.
Tom Brown's School Days. He evokes within his writing, he's basically, he builds up what we've lost. You can see it. You have to study it to know all this tremendous writing and thought and consideration that some of our great figures from Shakespeare, Dickens, Scott, Edmund Burke, everything that he quotes from Burke is just spot on. It's totally accurate. And the thing about Burke that is amazing, I think, is that he was practically the only man in England that coherently opposed the French Revolution.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. Very, very few. They were all, in other words, the mob had all gone over to this because they're all into progress and all this kind of crap, and Burke just nailed it. I mean, he said, once you've destroyed this, what are you going to replace it with? In fact, there's this little quote from him. He said, this is about Burke. He says, we need to ask our modern liberal Jacobins. The Jacobins were the troublemakers.
Yeah.
In the French Revolution, named after a street called Jacobin Avenue or something like that. Or they met at a cafe. That's all where it comes from. It's nothing to do with Jacob or anything like that. It's just the name of this place. This is what Burke asked the French Jacobins, right? Having destroyed the old order, whose laws stemmed from the Christian faith, on what principle do you propose to base your laws? And of course, their answer to Burke was an abstraction called liberty, equality, and fraternity, presided over by a whore called reason. And he says, and our modern Jacobins are of the same spirit. In their minds, which are abstracted from reality, they believe in a racially blended world sustained by science and presided over by the Negro. This is why I didn't read it all out the other day. You got to read the whole thing. It's absolutely brilliant. There's some brilliant stuff in there. There's also an English writer called Anthony Jacob. I've got his book. It's amazing. Anthony Jacob, English, but lived in South Africa. He saw what was coming back in the 60s. There's so many formidable thinkers that most of our people don't know.
My hero. That's right. My hero. This in 19 the Russian chappie that did lectures in the early 80s.
Solzhenitsyn?
No, not Solzhenitsyn. He was on with G. Edward Griffin once. Marvelous man. He spoke about ideological subversion and Yuri Bezmenov. What a genius he was. And he wrote a book under the name of Thomas Schumann. And I'd like to get that book because he knew. And what he said then is spot on what's happening now. He said he couldn't believe how America is being corrupted, and they're doing it themselves. It's subversion is unbelievable. It really is. Once you start the ball rolling, it's like getting a ship away from the quayside. It just keeps going and going and going, and that's the thing, But
you're right. On his site, I'm just here looking at it right now. There's a list of many of the names of authors and things that are all highlighted on the side of the amount of posts he's done. Edmund Burke and Shakespeare are the biggest of them all. They're referenced the most. But just some of these names you won't even know. But there are things like Alfred Lord Tennyson, Anthony Jacob, who I just mentioned, C.S. Lewis, who everybody should know, brilliant guy, Charles Dickens, Chateaubriand, Dostoevsky, Edmund Burke. Dostoevsky is amazing. G.M. Trevelyan, who wrote these English history books. I've got them I've got to get round to it. Herman Melville, John Donne, the poet, contemporary of Shakespeare's. Kenneth Grahame, the guy that wrote Wind in the Willows. Yeah.
Really?
Hughes, who wrote Tom Brown's School Days. Walter Scott is huge. You don't think of when you look at them, what he's saying is within all of their writings, you are reading stories in which the characters behave, this is me spinning it, right? They behave in a way that evokes everything that's good about European Christendom. I've got to use that word because that is our culture, whatever you may think about organized religions. And of course, they've failed everybody. They are literally wolves in sheep's clothing.
Oh, yes.
But this is when people knew the score. And this is why Burke had such a go at the French Revolution, which is, there's something different about the French Revolution to say the English Civil War. It's different. And it's to do with the arrival of this liberaldom in the preaching of these Jacobins. they're maniacs. There's all sorts of influences, as you well know, and there's the usual culprits with the provision of money and so on and so forth. And there's the most hideous jealousies and devotion to revenge amongst the revolutionaries. And of course, what happened? They chopped 28,000 people's heads off, and don't think that they haven't still got that mania inside them. These people that we see out there that are woke, they're cut from the same degenerate cloth. There's no two ways about it.
So they've always been with us. That woke has always been with us to some way.
It's just been called different things, but it's an absolute revolution against natural order and decency. And I don't know what they're people who are either. I don't even know. I don't even want to describe it. I just want to know how to contain it or to get rid of it, because it's just repellent.
Well,
it's just absolutely revolting.
I read a report on Marie Antoinette, and she went to the guillotine with real nerve and real honor. She didn't show her. It must have been a terrifying experience, because they actually piled the bodies up on a cart, headless bodies on the cart next to the guillotine, and there's blood all over the place.
And they're all laughing, thinking it's great. That's what you're dealing with. It's literally like being surrounded by mocking devils. And of course, that revolution as well, she didn't do anything wrong. If oh no, she laughed and said they've let them eat cake. This is all crap. It's the propaganda of the day that's come down to us as received truth. It's complete shit, all of it. I've mentioned before her husband, Louis, who also met a similar fate. He refused to actually send out the guard to attack the revolutionaries because he felt that they didn't know what they were doing, and he loved them to the very end. That's what allowed it. He was too soft, as it were. Everybody was advising him to defend himself. He said, no, if they feel this way, let them have their way. I love them. Seriously.
Look at Nicholas, Tsar Nicholas in Russia.
There's that Irish
They went in and
sorry.
shot them I mean, how could anybody do that? Women and children, and shot them at point in the face.
Because they're not like us, Eric. They're not like us. There's a bit missing. There's a bit missing.
There's actually a scientific reason. The frontal lobe, if you did a scan of their frontal lobe, it would be blank. So they cannot have empathy at all. They act empathy, but if you read the book by Thomas Sheridan,
they mimic empathy.
That's right. Puzzling People by Thomas Sheridan. Now, I don't agree with all that he says in there. There's a lot that I disagree with. Like he said that psychopaths have high testosterone, so they're perspiring a lot. No, I come across psychopaths who don't perspire a lot. I disagree with him there. I could be wrong. He could be right. Take your pick. But the thing is that and I don't want to say that. I mean, the leading authority on psychopaths is Dr. Hare in Canada, who's come very close to saying that they're not human. And I think he's correct. They're not human. When you look at people like Keir Starmer, I think he's a psychopath. He's not human.
He's a fully trained communist in Czechoslovakia, isn't he? As a youth.
Yes.
He's a fully. They have them in the wings. This is to do with this breeding programs that they have as well. This is all of these things. The trail has been long laid. None of these things are spontaneous at all. The English Civil War wasn't. I think I mentioned before, 30,000 pamphlets. Different ones printed. This is in England. When the cost of printing, who comes up with the money for all that? Who's doing it all? And it's a bit like when we see these guys rock up with their perfectly printed placards and their pink hair or whatever they've got, And no one has that. The interview I want is, hey, these are really good posters. Who organizes all this for you? I want to know the logistics.
We should be asking those questions. I mean, for example, as I said, I wrote an article, as I say, on Telegram, and it soon will be on Gab as well, where I said, that circus last Saturday, and that's all it was. It was a circus coming to town. It achieved absolutely nothing except for a PR stunt for a country we're not allowed to criticise. That's all it was. It was a PR stunt. And if they'd have done a silent vigil outside Number 10 with just holding a placard up, T-shirts, so people can read it, but not making a sound, what could the police do? What could the government thugs do? The agent provocateurs could have done anything. What could they do?
I agree with you. It's like
very powerful. And then giving out leaflets, politely smiling to the police. Please take this. Please take this. Will you join us? And it's talking about usury and things like that, And asking, saying Keir Starmer will be treated in a humane way, but we want him on trial for corruption, for treason, and for promoting usury. We want him on trial, and
Yep.
under the 1848 Treason and
Of
Sedition
course,
Act.
we'd have a question of, we'd have quite a challenge finding out who would try him. And then, you know, I love the idea of trial by jury. I'm throwing a spanner in my own works here, but the
No, we
jury,
would be the jury. But hang on a moment. Now we've got the internet.
so much abuse, isn't it, on
But
jury
I
selection?
think, well, yeah, but the thing is, was it 65 million people will be the jury? We see him going into court and we decide. And
Yeah.
this is a bit of a wet liberal of me, but I do not believe in the death sentence. I believe just putting them on an island, it's got infrastructure, but away from us. Psychopath. If a psychopath, live with other psychopaths, but keep them away from us. They're dangerous. And that's it.
I mean, we really need systems, don't you think, Eric? We need systems. I don't know what they would look like, but I bet someone does, to identify these people earlier on in life, to disband any secret societies whatsoever. They've got to go. Or if you're going to have a secret society, you can, but you can't have it here. It can't be secret on the land that we live on. We don't do that thing.
We can see secret on an island somewhere else in the middle of nowhere, but not here. And I think that this is the problem. We are against a breed that crops up in all cultures and all religions, that gets itself to the top, and something happens where they've got this hypnotic effect on people. And I've worked in offices and I've witnessed it happening. I think a relative or someone that married into my family is one. I think, and I think there's something demonic about them. They attract demons. I'm positive they do.
Well, they're often intellectually gifted in a way.
Oh, they're brilliant. They are very, very clever.
And people
brilliant memories.
There's a part of you that admires it, and often their coldness is probably mistaken for strong qualities of leadership, whereas in fact it's literally an indifference to your welfare. But they mask that quite well. I think they do. You know, Jojo Gizmo wrote a thing in here about, where was it? Starmer has got dead eyes. He has. It's as if his soul has been cauterized. And he's not alone in that. They all go glassy-eyed, sort of a distant.
Yeah,
he's got no presence, and he's in embarrassment because he's not even in charge of his own lying. It just contradicts itself after a few days, and yet no one is confronting him. No one. What's that about? Why is there no confrontation? Are those around him of the same cloth, or are they they know that if they do, they're in for something really nasty? Because anybody that thinks that it isn't nasty up there, you're mistaken. Look at what happened to John Smith. They bumped him off. Robin Cook, they bumped him off.
I'm positive they did. And when you look at them, I mean, I worked with a bloke whose father was a projectionist in Churchill's bunker. And I said this the other night, and apparently he was an arrogant bastard. He didn't know how to speak to people, and he farted a lot. And that's what I heard. But the fact of the matter is, that got this people, I think it's a natural self-protection attitude. They will crawl round the psychopath because they don't want to be the odd one out, because they don't want to be in the firing line of that psychopath. And this is what happens in groups. You'll get someone get to the top, they will be a narcissist or psychopath, and everybody will, like a pyramid, will do what he or she says because they don't want to be the odd man out. Because what they do, they set up a sense of distrust. Everything about them is distrust. This happened when a certain person married into my family and set up this attitude of distrust, and it's horrendous. You can't explain it very well. I can't very well, but it's awful. And this is what you look in this country. Everywhere you go, you're distrusted. Everything is distrust.
You need a culture, even in a family, that can wipe that out. One of the ways I've seen that reduces it just office gossip and bitching, which is
Yes.
where much of this starts. I mean, if you are going to play the role of Iago, the psychopath from Othello, effectively, who is so effective, he gets Othello to literally strangle his own wife, who at the beginning of the play he's completely in love with, right? Gets him to literally kill his own wife. Strangling, that's quite serious, right? You got to look in someone's eyes as you're doing that. This is not sort of shooting someone from 15 yards away and then running out the door because you don't see what you've just done. If you want to stop that, or one thing that I think is effective is when people start moaning to you about someone else, you say, stop, shut up. You call the other person over in this example and you say, Bob's got something to say to you. You tell him straight. You tell him what you just told me. He's got nothing to do. People seek to create allies and they do it in chat rooms and all sorts of places. It's a really pathetic, to me, communications ploy. I think someone will write and think, I think we can all agree that so-and-so's been a pain in the bum. Hey, mate, you sort it out yourself. I'm not interested, right? Go away. If I've got a problem with that person, I'll go and communicate it. But I don't want you projecting your from me and including me in your personal rancor, whatever it is, whether I agree with you or not, is happening to you because you've caused it, right? You may be in the right, you may not be. I don't even care about that. I just care that you've got a willingness to care for the other person, to not come up. As soon as that starts to happen, and you find this, politics is all about this, isn't it? That's why it's a disgusting pit. Everybody's in their little cliques and they're all backstabbing. And maybe, we could say that that's actually a positive for us, because if you don't think that the rats are going to kill each other in the sack, they are. They do it all the time. Look at Stalin. Once he got in there in Russia, he just started getting them all killed. They didn't, because he didn't care. And he'd obviously created some kind of power clique around him that was able to protect him. I think they killed Stalin in the end, though. I think they probably poisoned him. And when did he die?
They did.
3 or something?
I think it's 1953.
And shit of the highest order, but, it's just
people were terrified
killing another bunch.
That's right, but they were terrified to touch him. They could have saved him, but he lay there dead for ages because everybody. Because you ever see that where they had a bell, everybody had to carry on clapping him because the first person to stop clapping will be a suspect and rounded up. So everybody carried on clapping, and he had a bell, and he pressed the bell, and then they could stop clapping. What an atmosphere to live to work in, to live in. I mean, this psychopath
It's literally hell because there's the complete absence of all the better qualities of life, aren't there? So desperate to not lose power and have anybody else pick it up that you get worse and worse and worse. I mean, it's an interesting thing in one of the aspects of Sauron, who's the baddie from Lord of the Rings. Not that I've read all these things. I've read it in brief. Sort of the pre-story. How did he become so bad? Right? Yes. How do you get to be that bad that you want to dominate all life, which is what Stalin wanted to do or whatever, and there's others, right, that you want to do that. He started off as an elf, I think. I'm just talking, but he did within the story. He started off as a highly intelligent, wise elf who saw problems in the world and wanted to improve them and got frustrated that other people didn't, and he got worse and worse and worse. And then the people that wouldn't help him became his enemy, and it doesn't stop. And literally darkness is created because these people become convinced that they are the only people that know what to do. And they begin to develop a whole strategy around it to acquire all the other people around them who they're able to dominate. Because that's how it works, isn't it? If one person can dominate another person, like the psychopath we're talking about, and then another one, and then another, and then he makes sure that the group around him are also slightly fighting one another so that they're not sure. Everybody's permanently off balance, expecting to get it in the neck. And this is how you breed this kind of deranged coterie of demons, really. And they behave in the most appalling way. That's understatement, by the way. It's far worse.
You're spot on. I mean, what I had in my family my sister's much older than me. I think I was an afterthought. And she married this chap who would only make a conversation if he felt like making conversation. So sometimes you say hello and you won't get 2 words out of him. Deep, really deep. And my father's father he was blind, and my father's sister brought a chap home who was like my brother-in-law, and he was very plain speaking, and because he's blind, he needed people to talk, and he said, "Got tongue in your head? We better
Yeah.
use it, because otherwise, there's the door. Get out of it, and never see my daughter again."
Yeah.
And that's the way he was, and my dad regrets not doing the same. But my dad was a very placid personality; he couldn't do that. His father was very forthright, and I think because he had a very tough life. And what happened is my brother-in-law would communicate things, terrible, terrible things, via my sister. So, for example, my father was teetotal; he never drunk.
Yeah.
And the reason he was teetotal, excuse me a moment. Pardon me, I'm having a drink of water there. Was
Yeah, gin.
because he's a bit of gin there. His father had a terrible childhood because his father had an alcohol problem.
Right.
And he signed the drinking pledge that he'd never drink. And because his father never drank, my dad never drank. People, and
He broke
because
the
my
line.
dad never drank, I'd never really bothered with alcohol or drink that much. But the thing is, what happened is, brother-in-law said to my sister, "I saw your dad coming out of a pub. I think he's a secret alcoholic." And then started spreading terrible things via my sister. And my sister was then put to trust.
Mm.
And my dad used to like doing a little flutter on the horses. "I think your dad is gambling all the money away." And all that sort of stuff. "I saw your mother where she's," and he would make up things. But if you saw, if you said, faced him direct, he'd look you straight in the eye and say, "I never said anything of the sort." And then turn it round as if you're mentally ill by thinking that. Horrendous.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where, I haven't seen my sister for 15 years, that she became almost demonic. She was two personalities in one person. And if you've ever seen that, where they'll flip from one personality to the other one instantly, and then flip back again, then flip again, then flip back again. He's sort of sitting there. But they won't do that when they're with the rest of the family. They'll only do it when they're with selected people. And he would be standing in the background, just grinning, going. And how I restrain from punching his lights out, I never know. But he's standing there with this grin. And because he was creating that, and what it is, psychopaths love people to be traumatized. They thrive on trauma. And look what we've got in society today. And that was a microcosm of the way governments work. And it almost gave me a breakdown. Horrendous. It really was horrendous. And it's difficult. I wrote a book about it, and I never published it because I didn't think people would believe it. But I actually am thinking of rewriting it. But unless you've been through it, that's what it's like with that. And that gave me an idea of how governments work. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if Keir Starmer is the type of person that will make a conversation if he feels like it. So you sit in a room and he just looks straight through you. I mean, another little technique my brother-in-law had would be everybody sitting down, he'd remain standing. He said, "Well, why don't you sit down, make yourself comfortable?" "I prefer to stand. The reason why, it made people feel uncomfortable."
Yeah.
And these techniques, these body moves, psychopath, straight the way through. Unbelievable. I mean, I've just told you just the tip of the iceberg, but I almost guarantee that Keir Starmer is like that. Only speaks when he needs to, and creates this sort of fear around him.
I don't know about that. I think there are some like that. Him, I think he's putty in whoever's hands are controlling him. That's the impression. I mean, he really doesn't know what one side of his brain's doing to the next. He's a complete, he's a rules guy, isn't he? He's trained as a lawyer. So he's all about the letter of the law and nothing about the spirit. There's no humane qualities about him, and when he expresses things like that, we are literally seeing a guy act like a photocopier and just mimic a thing. He's just a mimic and a bad one, in many regards. But I mean, who is there around him that's going to confront him? I think they're even more stupid. Many of those, they're sort of selected for their If you have a weak leader, the only way he can remain leader is by having even weaker and more stupid people around him that are basically become yes men or yes women or whatever, all that kind of stuff. So it makes for a difficult. You can see that literally in just personal relations between the people that are in power, the whole nation can be destroyed. It can, because no one's confronting them. There
Well,
aren't
that's
real
right.
checks and balances to correct aberrated behavior in your leaders. There just aren't.
Yeah.
And he's never sat an exam or a psych. Why don't all politicians have a psychological profiling? Because they would probably, jerry rig the psychological profiling organization.
Well,
They would
that's
pay
right.
for people to go in the end. And it's like I was saying about juries. How do you select the jury? It's an interesting question. I don't know what it was like. I'm always imagining in my sort of nice, happy mind, I'm thinking, well, all these people step forward, all decent English and chapesses, and they're all, they've got a ground. What are they grounded in? If they're grounded in just law and purely ethics and morals, it won't be enough. I really don't think it's enough.
You're right.
Those things last. They become. They change in the face of trends and other things without faith in something bigger than yourself, without a connection to the creator, which is the continual reassuring foundation of your ethical and moral behavior. You can run on the fumes of good ethics and morals for maybe several decades, but in the end they cave in, they fall away. And it may be, Eric, when we were saying that the 60s was when much of this started, that's really what's occurred. I think prior to World War One, or in the 1800s, this was a country that was, this is my view from a distance, from having read things like Dickens and all those guys that were writing at that time, that had a really strong sense of purpose about what they were doing and under whose law they operated. I mean, if you've ever read Dickens' Christmas story to his children, you can get it now. It's absolutely fantastic. It's an absolutely brilliant Christmas story where he's just telling his children about the life of Christ in terms that everybody could understand. This is Dickens, right? Behind all the great writers, there is this conviction. It just exists. That's why their work has got this solidity to it. It's why it's got a sort of durability to it that you pick up. You don't see it literally, but you feel it strongly. When it's just all clever linguistics, and many of the ones that we're up to are clever, it's an intellectual academic exercise, and it won't hold water for very long because not all people are intellectually and academically gifted, and they don't need to be. You don't need to be in a place that's run right.
Well, that's right. That's right. I mean, when you look at these idiots, I mean, I'm not sure if it's Adrian Moore. I could be wrong. Please don't sort of. But he became a correspondent, a political correspondent, and he said the first time he went into the House of Commons, he was convinced that all the MPs were mentally ill. He said there was something wrong with them, something deep down wrong. And most of them are drunk out of their minds because it's very cheap booze there. But I've said this on previous programs. I worked with a secretary who used to work in the House of Commons, and she took they have early retirement. I think they've retired at about 50 or 55 because she was a civil servant. And she was a freelance secretary after that. And I was sitting in the office one lunch hour, and I was the only one in the office. And because she came from that sort of civil service world, she didn't understand architecture. And she sort of said, Chris, she asked me over, she said, look, what are these architectural words? And I sort of explained them to her. And we got talking because I was freelance, she was freelance, and she was the living image of Germaine Greer. So much that people used to go up to her and ask her for an autograph. They actually thought she was Germaine Greer because she looked like her. And she said that when she worked in the House of Commons, she said they used to have tantrums, the MPs, and if they had, you booked, say, hotels for them, and if they thought the opposition party had a better hotel, they have a childish tantrum. She said they were children, child minds, all of them. And that, backing that up, I was listening to a late night phone in once, and an elderly lady phoned in who she was also a secretary in the House of Commons. And she said exactly the same. She said they're not quite right in the mind. I mean, you look at the question time, and they're all going, yeah. Could you do that? Sit there doing that? I mean, could you sit on your?
And then they'll end up laughing as if scoring minor points in some idiot debate
Yeah.
has actually got some kind of value to it.
Yes.
They're there literally to be the ones that are in charge, and they don't care what the terms are. They just want to be the boss. That's it, really.
Well, that's it.
This is why there's I mean, you can look at people. There have been politicians that have gone into on both sides of the Atlantic, all over the place, who go into it and they're made of the right stuff, right? But they've been reducing in number considerably over the last few hundred years. There's very few of them left now. There's no culture to support that. You've got now effectively professional politicians who, as we know, the vast majority in the House of Parliament, I think 90% of them have never had a proper job. They've never had a job. They don't understand about the management of businesses and what small business owners actually have to deal with, who should be, we're always told they're the backbone of the nation, but that could be more blag now because, the internationals just buy everything up in this great scam called free market capitalistic blah, 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 blah. They're just absorbing all this stuff up, things that they couldn't possibly. You can't be worth £1 billion and have earned it by the sweat of your brow. It's not possible. You can't do that, right? And no one actually needs that amount of money to operate well in the world. It's ludicrous. And they're saying, oh, well, if you actually thwart their ambition, that we'll all suffer. No, we won't. It's like in some, their gist is always, well, at some point, this is going to be trickle down and everybody's going to benefit. But it never happens.
You're right.
I was talking to me about the City of London. This is maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And we were just talking about it. He said, but it's a great export earner for England. I said, what are you talking about? I said, not for you. It ain't for you. It's for a small coterie of people who live in England and use it. They may be English. They may be from Timbuktu. I don't care where they're from. They basically are using this place as a base to asset strip your life. And they feed you this story back that the city turned over X hundred billion and therefore the British economy is doing well. But you're paying more for your food and your rent and your mortgages every bloody year. It never comes to you, ever. Never has, never will. And
Spot right on.
Stop believing this stuff.
Yeah,
none of them.
It's a myth.
I don't care about multinational corporations. I care about the fact that people living in a doorway down my street. Why is that not fixed? Oh, but we've got multinational corporations. Yeah, but this guy's suffering, and this family are suffering, and the education shit, and blah blah blah. And this is the gap. They don't feel really any level of concern about people, and the working classes do. You find that in the working classes and in some of the middle classes, unless they've gone up their own arse, and many of them do, because they've lived with it. They live alongside, cheek by jowl, by people who are having a similar shared experience. And they're denied a voice because we don't want that story being the predominant story of the nation, but it is the predominant one. It's just not given any airtime. So everybody gets brainwashed into thinking, yeah, the economy's doing great. And nobody even knows what it means because it doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless.
Well, you're right. Well, DJB2 said most MPs go to public school where they are buggered into submission. Well,
I think
let's face it. Last Saturday, I think that Keir Starmer and his mate Ali went up the Arsenal because they both like football together.
Yeah.
So nothing rude there, is there? No. Strange people laugh, but
all right. Never mind. Let's give £12 billion to Ukraine. 12 billion is not enough. I would gladly sell my house and all its possessions to support my local MP. I would sell my own kidneys to support the government. I mean, yeah.
Well, Alvin says Thomas Sheridan writes about psychopathy. The problem is psychopaths. Well, what they are very clever at is gaslighting, and that comes from a film where a man tries to turn his wife insane and making out she's to do with money. It's an old film. I think it's late 40s, But
Gaslight.
Yeah, Gaslight. Yeah,
it's called Gaslight. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
it's got Ingrid Bergman in it. She's quite young at the time. She's the one that's been gaslighted. Yeah, she's terrorized, psychologically terrorized by her husband. Yeah,
but this is spot on. Never mind. Let's give 12 billion to Ukraine. I mean, we had where I live outside the what do you call it, council building, the
Yeah.
Ukrainian flag fluttering, and a light display showing the Israeli flag. And
Yeah.
ratepayers have got to pay that.
Yeah, because we all support
Unbelievable.
that. If you ask me, that's the first thing that
Yeah,
pops out of my mouth. That's the
yeah,
number one thing
yeah,
that I'm concerned about.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that also, if you allow a Ukrainian into your house, you don't have to pay extra council tax. So, if a disabled serviceman, ex-serviceman, comes to your house, you have to pay extra council tax. But a Ukrainian, no, you don't have to.
Well,
think
I
that's called
am a
discrimination.
Ukrainian then. Why don't we all just become Ukrainians and we can all get a thing? And then if they say you're not Ukrainians, we say, what, are you racist? Right.
That's an idea, isn't it? That's an
Yep.
idea. And Alvin
Become
Coyle,
a Ukrainian. You can't just become a Ukrainian. Really? Well, you seem to think it works for other people. They can just become
yeah,
English, can't they?
that's
Surely.
an idea, isn't it? We'll all become Ukrainians.
Yep.
That's a bloody brilliant
Want my
idea.
money. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Paul Mohammed
I'm
has said,
becoming an illegal migrant, actually. Might become a migrant back into my
yes,
own country. Why not?
yes, nice free holiday,
Free
nice
home
4-star hotel,
migrant.
nice meals. You know,
Yeah.
was it Paul Mohammed said people are stupid and have a short attention span. No way will they listen long enough to learn instant gratification comes to mind. Yes, I agree
It's
with you
true.
there. Everything is instant now. Now, Alice Gorgeous says, I still love that name, Alice Gorgeous. Well, by the way, sorry to hear about your childhood. We could actually have a group set up, probably on Telegram, because there's quite a few of us that didn't have a particularly happy childhood. Let's put it that way. We only need 5% for a revolution, my darlings. Let's go. Yes, that's right. We've got the 30% who believe everything the government says, 40% that should go with the flow, and 30% that can see straight through it. And all it needs is 5% of that 40% to come over to our side. And that's what
We
the
need it.
government
Yeah,
wants.
I'm completely with you, Alice.
Yeah.
When you write, we only need 5% for a revolution, my darlings, you should have written for a revolution, my gorgeous darlings, because then we'll
Yes.
become gorgeous darlings, you see, Alice.
And she's got a Fockham title, so it's Princess Alice Gorgeous. Isn't that lovely? Princess Alice Gorgeous. No, some names, I don't know, it's just a super name, isn't it? Now, what is this fix it by moaning program? I had a Ukrainian in my house. Not a good experience. Well, there's good and bad in all societies. That's the thing. And I think that what we've got is we definitely got people that are so. I think that'll be the end of them in many ways. But what we've got to watch is if there was a revolution, there's usually a power vacuum and you get something even worse coming to power. And I fear little Tommy Robinson is in the. He won't come to power. He'll tell people what they want to hear, but when he gets to near the peak, he will realise that he's being used for a purpose, and afterwards, because he knows too much, and he'll find that out, and somebody else will take over from him because he'll leg it. I'm pretty sure, because that's how communists work every time. And they say he's not a communist. Well, who's financing Tommy Trousers? Any good ideas?
I heard a phrase the other day, Eric. If you know their name, they're in the game.
Correct.
Anybody that's relatively prominent in this space, I think that generally that rule is going to apply. And they've got a role to play, and they're probably given free rein up to a point, but there'll be certain barriers and containing events that would happen. They'd get a phone call from someone. Things like this. If you start to stray off the communications reservation in a way that is of serious concern to the line manager of your particular area or whatever it is, this is highly sophisticated human control system that's been developed over hundreds of years,
Oh,
and
yes.
technology they've made full use of. And yet we have to work on the basis as well that the technology that they've got is in advance of what they release out to us in the public. So anyway, so be it. That is the way that it is. This doesn't mean that
I
we
can't
can't
read.
actually get around.
I can't read this out. I can't read this out. There's a few that I can't read out. I hope you'll understand the reason
Can't you
why.
read?
Well, no, I can't read. Yeah, that's a classic. But no, quite honest with it, I think that they're shooting themselves in the foot. But what they will do, they'll get someone. This is what Yuri Bezmenov said. Someone that will promise all the goodies. They'll tell everybody what they want to hear. And when they get to power, they then get rid of the people that got them to power. Because if the people who got them into power can get them out of power. So that's the first thing they do. That's it. A big colour them. And
Yep.
then the next thing they do is set up this problem where we've got they'll be the worst dictators ever, and you'll find people disappearing off the streets and that. But the person that will be used to get into power, they might be toppled as well. But whilst the finances are behind them, I mean, look what happened. You had, what was it? Wasn't Trotsky? It was Karl Marx started communism, but who was before Stalin? I'm just trying to think of his name now.
Lenin.
Lenin. I think he was. Something happened to him because Stalin, who was far worse, took over. So, you know, they got ways of, shall we say, people
They've
becoming
never
ill.
left Russia. Anybody that thinks that they've never left it. It's
Well, they reckon that
Once
Chamberlain
these
was
things
bumped off.
embedded in the financial control systems, it is literally like it's like leukemia, cancer of the blood of civilization. It travels
Yeah.
through all points, and it infects, and it thrives on the individual aggregated greed of these individuals up and down the line. People just get corrupted by it. Oh, I'll take this money. No one will know. It won't be that bad, and at least I get a new house. Literally, it's at that level. People are persuaded to go against what is right for short-term personal gain, and we've all got that in us as well. This is, this is true. So that's part, I think, to some degree, of the internal challenge that we all face. And the more often you make the right decision, the more often you're going to keep making it. So this is why training, as it were, when you're young is vital, to be around honourable people. And unfortunately, sending them off, as we said, to these public schools where they get buggered is not the right way to do that. But it's the right way if you want to have your sons and daughters end up running the country for the club. It's like a big, it's like what's his name said, there's a big club and you're not in it. Thankfully, I won't want to be. I think they're in trouble later on, but right now they think they're having a good time, but it's at the expense of everybody else, which is no good time at all as far as I'm concerned.
You look at films of the early 60s and the 50s, and it's all optimistic. You know, there we got Brian Trubshaw getting into the latest Harrier jump jet. I'm not sure whether he was the test pilot for the Harrier jump jet, but that type of thing. And look, we've got look at this marvelous invention, and we're going forward. We got this, we got that, and there's Tomorrow's World, a marvelous television program that shows you all the modern gadgets, how exciting the new world is going to be. And then we got into demoralization.
Yeah.
What constant demoralization. And what they're doing when a person is totally demoralized, again, as Yuri Bezmenov said, I'm sorry I keep mentioning his name, he said, truth will mean nothing and they'll grab at any hope. And Tommy Trousers is hope. And Israel is using it as a PR exercise. It's nothing to do with taking back Britain. And Aunt Sally said something marvellous here. I met Tommy Trousers years ago when I thought the sun shone out of his backside. And I said, you're my hero. And I 100% saw a micro expression of guilt. He knows who his masters are. Yes, he does. Yes.
Yeah, he does.
And Paul Mohammed, I'll be a bit smug now. You're right, Eric. It all turns sour. Yes. and it's spot on. And I think that is what's happened. People are desperate for hope, and any demonic arsehole who knows how to play crowds will creep up the ranks, and they'd be financed by the likes of George Soros or that country we just mentioned, and they'll get to the top. But they won't be working for us; they'll be working for that country. We can guarantee that. I mean, Tommy
Well, I
Trousers.
think if we're able to muster more effective communication, and by that I don't mean the content of it or expressing it more articulately or being cleverer about it, although I guess we always could do that and it might help. But more effective communication would be just literally repetition and bombardment on a much higher scale than we're able to currently achieve. Like, you know, those little clips we've got of Godfrey Bloom, right? Speaking truth to power in the European Union. I mean, let's face it, that should be on every advertising break in England for years until it goes in. It's got to go in. It doesn't go in. People need to hear it again and again and again and again and again. And maybe on Soapbox, when I get my finger out, which I'm in the process of doing, we can get these things repeating every couple of hours right through the week forever, for years. It doesn't matter. You've got to keep on hammering through. We've got Liz Truss calling it out. The governor of the Bank of England's got more power than the prime minister. So therefore, Mr. and Mrs. Voter, forget it. Your vote don't count. Do you want to get involved in deciding who's going to run the Bank of England? Because that's where the power lies, not where you've been led to think it lies. It ain't there. That's why nothing ever changes. So we need to convince everybody to stop voting and to unattach themselves from a political party. I still think consumer pressure groups are the way for us to go. I would say, in a way, we are a consumer pressure group. We are being forced to consume crap products and services from people that are telling us all the time that they're giving us great products and services. So they're lying. They are destroying what we love. They don't listen to us. They're never going to. We shouldn't even get cross about that. We should just look and go, oh, they never listen to us, right? This is an engineering thing. So this thing never listens to us. So there's no point talking to it. So how do we use our energy more effectively? And I think that it's those things. And, you know, even going back to newspapers, what we were talking about earlier, local newspapers obviously have died because of the loss of advertising revenue. The whole of the newspaper business is driven by advertising. The whole of the publishing business is similar, although not exactly the same, not in terms of novels and stuff, but you have to have a marketing budget. The novels that you see in bookstores are there because publishers with money decided to push those over other ones. I don't know how many novels are written every day, but I guess it's quite a few, more than anybody could ever read in their lifetime. And so you're reliant on these publishing houses to bring good material to market. Do they? No, they don't. Not really. There might be an exception every now and again, which surprises even them. But that's an awful lot of material for anybody to scan and scour. It's not a sort of, you know, a light task to read through a 500-page novel unless it's being pushed at you. And if you look at the formulaic nature of publishers, this is what you're dealing with. And it's why there's very little, I would suggest. I mean, I could be wrong. No doubt the Booker Prize produces things, but they often end up being sort of highfalutin things that nobody's, you know, the story of somebody that trained jackdaws in Uzbekistan. You know what I mean? They're always kind of strange, rather distant topics that are in these things. At least I'm just being a northern her, but they're not always like that. But it's all formulaic. TV's formulaic. As things have gone global, so they've got crap. They're just crap. They're just absolutely crap. It's local where the riches are, it seems to me. I was watching a thing today, an American woman who's a novelist talking about, it's fascinating to me, and this has been twice I've mentioned this in this show, about Lord of the Rings, right? Because I saw this interview the other day with Christopher Lee, who was in the films, and he used to read it literally every year. Once a year, he read it every year for like 50 years or something. Amazing. Ever since it came out, he was on the Wogan show saying, oh, I read it every year. He says, every year? Yeah. He said, yeah. Every single year he read it, which is quite a thing, you know, to just read the same story over and over again. I don't know how you get so much juice out of it after the 80th reading or 40th reading or whatever. But she was just talking about this whole, like the creation of the fantasy book market. So the current thing that's been in popular culture has been Game of Thrones, which I think is puke on a stick, right? And I won't give it the time of day. It's a joke as far as I'm concerned. I only saw a few clips. I read a few reviews. I saw that there's sexual perversion in it. you can stick it up your ass, literally. And probably I think in there somebody does, to be quite honest. I think it's full of bummers and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I ain't got time of day for this crap. And the whole of that genre was invented. It doesn't really exist. It's a nonsense. And I wrote to a friend today who I used to know back in the 70s and 80s, early 80s. I think he went on to write a few things, and I don't speak to him that often. He's out in Canada now. Lost touch with him for many years. And I just sent it. I said, hey, look, I don't know whether it's even relevant to you because I don't even know what's going on with your life. I said, but this is quite interesting. I said, because I was recalling, and maybe someone here can, there were all these books that sprang up in the mid to late 70s by people like Terry Brooks and something else I can't remember, about a leper and stuff. I used to look at these, and there just seemed to be a plethora of them springing up. It's a completely formulaic approach to producing these stories. And if you look at TV series, and this is just me, I'm having a whinge about culture, but it's not good. It's just not fun. It's not local. Because it has to be big scale. They want to sell a novel and make 1 million movies and TV series. It's all the same, mate. I can't be bothered with it.
Well, I did the Fockham Hall Times, and the last one I did was about 3 or 4 years ago. And you can see them on the website, fockhamhallradio.com. But the reason I stopped is that it's so time-consuming because I did it all on my own. And I've had this idea that it'd be nice if all our friends we could advertise in there, and if you get any revenue from that advertising, because advertising can be a lost leader anywhere, then you just put a little percentage back into the Fockham Hall Times, because to charge someone to advertise in there, no, I don't think that. People give what they feel they can afford or want to, and I'd like to start that up again, the Fockham Hall Times, because the light is the
work to do, Eric. We've got loads of work.
And I think
sorry.
What I was going to say is that we need a modern Private Eye. Private Eye, when that came out, it knocked the establishment between the eyes, but then it lost it. Ian Hislop, it just went wrong. I don't know quite what it just lost its way. It had its day after Peter Cook and was in it. And we need to kind of bring humour, but get truth over by humour. And I think that's the golden way. And look at how happened with Ceausescu. It was comedians that brought him down because they laughed at him, and he didn't like them like that. He don't like it at them. So that's my theory. We've got to make people laugh, because people, when you look how depressed people are, you look around towns now. I mean, the amount of people walking along talking on their phones is phenomenal. They're not quite with it. They're all.
And it's all about global issues, isn't it?
Yes.
It's all about this big global thing, because the idea, like, was I saying this earlier about the local investigative journalist? They don't seem to exist. It's that kind of stuff. Look, listen, I'm not sort of saying I used to love reading local newspapers. When I was a kid, we had the Yorkshire Evening Post, which came out of Leeds, which is where I'm from. That was a big paper. In fact, it was almost like a national one in a way. It was sort of quoted all over because they had a proper journalistic team. They may still do that, but obviously the economics of newspaper printing have gone through the window. Now every newspaper is effectively a globalist publication. It's a global publication. Mail Online.
They go with the news from Reuters.
Captured a colossal market. It's read hugely in the States. It seems to, they've got this formula for stuff. They put, a certain number of breasts on certain pages, not unfettered, of course. It's not like the Sun, but there's lots of that sort of celebrity pap around certain sorts of issues and what do you think and all this kind of stuff. They seem to have got it nailed down. It's a very, sophisticated operation.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. But, when you think about humor, with regards to, say, England, it's different because people speak differently. We got so many accents here, so Liverpudlian humour is slightly different to, Cornish humour and all that kind of stuff. And it's the actual sound of the voices in many ways from comedians that actually send the signals for where the joke's coming. It's all to do with, it's very subtle.
Well, look at Viz. Viz was fantastic. What I'm trying to do is what I did with the Fockham Hall Times is there was the Eep's Times, and that was
Yeah.
actually done during World War One. I've got copies of it, not originals, I hasten to add. I took them from the originals. Someone I worked with had the originals, and they really are funny. The humour they had down the trenches in the First World War was phenomenal. So from that, with like a Viz type humour, and this is what I'm trying to mix, because I think these people, we should all start laughing our heads off at Keir Starmer. I mean, can you imagine him at a conference doing a speech and everybody's going and just started laughing? What can he do? What can he do?
I know, but I mean, those spaces, Eric, are so regulated that it'd probably be quite a long shot. You know, when you think that they're literally administering and monitoring
I agree with you. Yeah.
every single event, it's all everything's staged. There's nothing natural. I mean, what you actually want is an interview show where they would come on without any handlers. That's never going to happen either.
Yeah.
Nobody actually talks properly. They actually don't communicate from the heart at all.
You're right. You're and I think
so long not doing that, they lose connection. You know.
Well, it started
with the wisdom of the heart. This is all about the cunningness of the mind. We don't want any of that. That's useless.
Do you remember
you're a smart ass? And
well, do you remember when Blair introduced? Sorry, I didn't mean to talk across you there, but when Blair introduced bleepers, when we before smartphones and mobile phones, we had bleepers, didn't we? You know, we got bleep 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 bleep. I still got one in a drawer somewhere, and all the MPs were issued with these bleepers, and if they said something that was slightly not quite right, they get bleep 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 bleep, and you know, it'd be the HQ saying, "Oh, get back into track," that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I actually think that
there's no
locally. Well, look what happened.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, Germany had two currencies before the war, and I don't know about during the war, probably did. They had the Deutschmark, which was an international currency, and the Reichsmark, which was a local currency. It was only used in Germany, and it worked. It succeeded. And I think we need something similar with a currency. I'm not saying the Reichsmark, but what we'll have locals currency, and then so the international currency can do what they like, but we'll have our own local currency, but not independent currencies. We could have, but the trouble is, you try and start that, and the Rothschilds will look on it and they'll go, "Oh, right, we better sort that up." Nobody's allowed to have their own currency, so we've got to do it in a cast iron way, where infiltrators can't screw it up.
I think technical solutions to our problems are reasonably well known by researchers. We know many of them here, and many of the listeners will know them too. So I don't think it's about extra engineering, literally, or technology per se. I think it's something to do with the quality of a unified heart of the people. There has to be this spirit of connecting where we look at one another and go, hey, this, whether we like it or not, this really is to the death. Not because we chose it that way, but the other side are operating like that. And that's got to come first. We have to fight internally that spiritual wickedness that's in high places. That's the thing that they never give up on. And technically, there are all sorts of solutions. How, in terms of sorting out the banking system, technically on a sheet of paper, we could sit around, we could get Michael Hudson from the States, come over, we sit down and we go, we've made him the Chancellor of the Exchequer, we're restructuring everything, this is what we're going to do. Private banking will be closed down in England over a 5 to 10 year period. It will be all morphed into the Bank of the English, or the Bank of these islands. And I was saying to someone only the other day, I still think it's a brilliant idea, but then I'm cocky about this. Instead of getting a birth certificate when your baby arrives, the baby is issued with a share certificate in the Bank of the Nation for life, non-transferable. That's all you get. You don't have who needs a bloody birth certificate?
Excellent.
I'm here to act as collateral loans for you to meet tax commitments because you borrowed money at interest from a bunch of spivs. Stick it up your ass. these ideas would work. They do work. We know that they work because we know what happened to Germany because of it. We know what happened to Libya because of it. They're not alone, right? They absolutely work. We know what happened to the colonists in America when they were dealing with their own money. They had to fight the War of 1776. That was what it was about.
Yeah.
It's always about who controls the money. So, but how we implement it is a problem without vast numbers of people being up to speed. Whether that can be done, that's sort of like, you think, well, it's such a simple idea to get across. But then, like your experience was with the guy talking to him about usury, you go, you can't get that they can't get it. That's the big. So what's that thing? You can pour stuff water, but you can't make it drink. You can tell them how the banking system works, but you can't make them think.
Right.
And they can't think. There's some short circuit in the head. They've become, I think, through custom, and I include myself in this, is why it's such a difficult one to break out. I know that when I first bumped into this at the age of 34, my brain went into meltdown because I'm thinking, well, you just work hard and the banks won't do this. Would they? I used to get this all the time, from my wife at the time. She'd go, but why would they do that? I'm going, it's a very good question. And at the time, I couldn't answer it. I couldn't say, oh, it's because they're Satanists and come from a long-standing, millennia-old cult of wanting to wage war on the people. I didn't know that at the time, but that's definitely a key part of all this. There's a quote as well there's a comment in, Eric, that I just wanted to address from Alice. She says, Paul English, you sound too plummy to be a Yorkshireman. What gives?
That's right.
Right?
That's right. I put that on the screen earlier.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry, I missed it. Well, Alice, you've obviously not been to Yorkshire recently because everybody up there speaks like this now. No, they don't. I've just been down. I've been down south too long, Alice. And so that's really what happens. But I was due to go up north at the weekend. If I'd spent a few hours up there in the pub and it was too long to go, I was going to go meet some friends. And they said, oh, we're going to the pub for 4 hours. I said, I'm not doing a round trip of 550 miles to sit in a pub with you for 3 hours and go home when I don't drink. I said, let's meet at 11 o'clock in the morning and finish at midnight. I need 12 hours of talking. There's loads. You need time, don't you?
That's the thing.
Anyway, but that's what's happened to me, Alice, unfortunately. I came down to London in 1984 and I just started talking like all these home counties people and had to be intelligible on the phone, you see. I sat on the phone for 2 years. So that's what happened.
That's right. I'm off. Can you smell me? Good night, folks. No, we're not going to that.
Bye, Alice.
See you, Alice. Now, the thing is, I actually do believe that it will probably need someone with nerves of steel, real guts, possibly a multi-millionaire, or how they get their money, I don't know, but would have to have a ring of steel, SAS types, bodyguards around them to get
maybe
to power.
not, Eric. I think in one scenario you're right, but if we think about some of these simple things from the past, like I always like this piece of advice from Sun Tzu in The Art of War. So he's saying that if conflict is unavoidable or whatever, something to that effect, and you are going to have armed conflict with your enemy, the best way to conduct this is to outnumber them 7-1 and annihilate them in one day. This leads to the least loss of life amongst both parties. It absolutely, sounds horrific, but he's right. Because that way there's no dispute over it. You've just got to, if you're going to do that, you've got to absolutely work it to crush your. Now, if you can't do that, this is the bit I liked as well. He said, if you're heavily outnumbered, you don't fight, you run away. You hide in the hills. You do the, in modern terms, not that we're talking about guns and bullets here. Hopefully we're not. You never know with these people. They might want to get it to, I suspect there's a part of them that does want to get it to that, where ill-equipped mentally and physically to do something like that on a large scale. But you basically hide in the hills, and we need to fight this sort of psychological guerrilla warfare. It's the wrong terminology because it's not like that, but you get the gist. And I think I still, we shouldn't have the battalion commander as the ideal. We should have Mary Whitehouse. I'm serious. Somebody in charge of the consumer pressure group. Something that you can't actually. The other side would just look like such idiots attacking something like that. And And it's when the mood and the will of the people is combined for decency that they do have a problem. They have to they don't stop operating, but they operate much slower, have to be more careful about how they do things because their insidious behavior is revealed that much more quickly to a wider audience. We have to create that wider audience so that when they talk shit on Monday morning, by Monday evening, 5 million people know it and are all laughing at them. It's that scale. And they suddenly go, oh, and those people go, I'm not voting for you in council elections. If they knew they weren't going to get any votes, of course, the counter argument is, well, if we don't vote for anybody, somebody will and they'll get in. But they'll have literally no mandate from the people. It won't exist on the street. It won't be there. There won't be compliance. But then I'm asking too much of people. It's not that people ultimately couldn't do that. It's that look how long people have been indoctrinated into this way of life. And you don't even know you've kind of got when you go, well, I go to the shops and do that. Yeah. So, well,
I know what you mean.
Markets,
I think this sounds awful, what I'm going to say. If this country did go bankrupt, that would probably be our moment because look what happened in Poland. When the Berlin Wall came down, Poland effectively had 2 years without a government. And most Polish people said that was a marvellous time to be alive in Poland. Fantastic time. Because what happened, entrepreneurs started their business because they didn't have any tax and shit like that to pay. It was brilliant. Similar happened in Argentina. When the country went bankrupt, there was potholes in the road outside someone's house, so they went down to council with some bolt cutters, got all the machinery out, and all the neighbours got together and they filled the holes up. Done. Job done. And things started to work. And it started to work very, very well as well because they wanted someone going around, like a policeman. So they hired someone to do it. And it was creating employment. And it was working so well that the UN, oh, bloody hell, we better get a government in there to sod it up quick, big time. And, of course, the government came in. Similar happened in Poland. So when you haven't got government, things work. So maybe if we did go back bust, I know it's a terrible thing to say, things might start to work. People start growing their own veg.
Yeah, yes. The thing that's got to break as well, this going bust, is as people's brains have got to break. They're molded in the wrong way, aren't they? And maybe the difference is that many people here that are listening to this have been willing to put themselves through the discomfiture, which it is, of realizing that things and you have had to give up on the status quo at some level. You start off a little and then you say, oh, everybody's going to see this. And then years go by and they don't. And you're thinking, well, why do they see this? And all that kind of stuff. The fact is there is a tipping point. I think we've got to also remind ourselves of this 100th monkey syndrome or condition, which does exist. If you get to a certain size, it begins to run and run and run and run. I'll talk more about this on Thursday, but on Saturday I spent 3 hours with Richard Vobes, who many of you know. He's local to me, so I literally walked over to his house.
I've met Richard in Suffolk.
We had a fantastic time talking for 3 hours. I only went over, I think, for an hour, but we ended up talking about all sorts of things. And his book's coming out called, he had a proof copy there, and it's Biggleswick, the town that wouldn't comply or something like that. I've probably mullered the title, but it's due. He's expecting caseloads of it very soon. Very interesting premise. It's written as a novel. And we were just discussing many of the things that we've touched upon here. It's very interesting that by putting it out as a novel, as a story, you can actually put in it ideas that may be more easy for the reader to absorb and then get a feeling for it, because I think feeling is really important. People can't necessarily remember all these little intellectual, for want of a better word, these little knowledge structures that you need to fit into this. And many of us can. We're the sort of people that have a passion for that. We go, I need to know about the French. I do. I need to know about all these history things because it makes me feel more complete if I'm in a situation where I'm talking to someone that doesn't know. But it's still only explanation. There's something else that comes after. It's good because explanation as a story can be very, very compelling. And at least you're keeping their attention here as opposed to going off and watching some of the dribble. So I think even on just a basic level, we would say that we want more people to spend more time with us and we want our output to be more interesting, and that's worthwhile. at least we can say, well, we could actually achieve that. There's nothing in our way yet, although, of course, they'll be looking at ways we can't even talk soon or something. But if we can get to a certain scale and operate in all these local clusters, I keep mentioning parishes, 15,000 is probably a bit too many for everybody to keep track of. But we've got the counties. We've got 50 counties here, or 39 in England and 6 or whatever it is in Scotland, and those in Wales and so on and so forth. And getting it going like, we're championing local culture, which combined makes the culture of England and Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland. That's what we're interested in. And a key thing, which I've still got to get around to, and we need help on, is like a Rolodex of all the farm shops that we can start to link with. And people need to say, look, I've just started going to Bob Smith's farm shop here in Leicestershire, and we're getting on. And he says, if we buy more stuff, it'll help him like this. And if he has an order book, there's a month in advance, and he knows that you want 4 steaks and this, that, and the other, we can get the price down and we can share that. And the more customers we bring him, the better he can do. And then he says, up in Worcestershire, there's my mate, so-and-so, he runs one. You need to get the people, that kind of connective glue, so that we're going.
I agree with you. I'm trying to contact the bowler hat farmer, and he seems to have, I don't know, he's gone out for the searchlight. I don't know quite what's happened. He's gone very quiet. So hopefully I'll get him involved. And I agree with you. And I've actually had this idea. Now, I'll be interested in feedback if people are interested in this, of people trying to save money and get, there's not a lot of money around. And I was going to do something like the £12 go for a meal somewhere. I don't like Ponzi restaurants. I go to cafes where you can get good grub. That's a family-run place, and it's cooked properly. It's not microwave crap. It's properly cooked food for less than £12 and a cup of tea or coffee.
We need to have the FFI, the Fockham Food Index, right?
Fockham Food is it, and I'm thinking we need this index, and the idea of also doing short 10-minute runs. This is for this idea for a Saturday, where we have 10 minutes or 15 minutes where I'll go around a museum somewhere. I'll go to different tourist areas to show people, because I can go, off peak and things like that to these areas. Something of interest like that, which shows our culture, what it was, the things that are around. That is because
so that we can be immersed once more. We can plunge back into
That's
it.
right.
It's all there.
Because the museum, the Waltham Abbey Museum, has got stuff from the 50s. Got prams, radios, all stuff like that from the 50s. And it shows you what culture was like then. Because remember, the millennials haven't got a clue what it was like. I mean, we are, you and me, Paul, are the last generation that had parents that went through World War II. The next generation didn't. Yeah,
I guess
so
we are.
We've got a link there in some way. So there were these different things, and when I was looking around, I never thought I'd see stuff from the 50s in a museum, and they're doing stuff from the 60s as well. They show you teacups from the 60s. Oh, bloody hell, they look like my teacups, But no,
X got a good idea. He says, why not buy a cow between us and chop it up? Yeah, absolutely. If we all chip in, we can all chop it up.
Yes.
Look, if there were enough of you in a county that knew a place, I mean, I don't know how much a cow costs for all the steaks, but you get an awful lot of meat from one cow. And there would be butchers that would do it. And you go, yeah, I can do it. And we just need to get organized. Do I need a freezer? Yeah. And you just freeze it immediately and all this, that, and the other, and sort yourself out. I know someone, right, over in the States, in Idaho, and their next door neighbor, which is probably 15 miles away, right? Because North Idaho is as big as England, but it's got 1.5 million people in it. Imagine that. Right?
Wow.
Just think about that. Right? And it's beautiful. And of course, it's harsh winters and shorter summers, but it's really amazing. But they bought a cow, a whole one. It's not butchered yet, but it will be at some point. So they bought a cow, and this cow has been grass fed because they've seen it all their life as it's grown up, right? On these fields, eating. It's not vaxxed. It's got nothing in it. You got complete provenance of the health of the animal, right? It's had a good life. We got to eat. You need to eat meat, otherwise you end up like a vegan and go loony and end up dyeing your hair purple, and all these other crazy things that we're just making up as we go along. And but that's the way to do it. We used to have this thing. Why don't we buy a racehorse? If we just all chip in, we could buy. We can if we given that we can find ways of creating this connective communication.
The easiest is rabbits, because they're quick to breed. And you think you've got bleeding great cow. I mean, show me a home where the buffalo roam, and I'll show you a house full of cow dung.
Mm.
So, and people sort of in urban areas, and that'd be a lot easier for them to keep rabbits. And that's what they used to do. Lots of people call and chickens, keep chickens, rabbits, and all kinds of things like that.
Maybe we could ship cows in from Argentina. I've told one of my sons is particularly keen to go to Buenos Aires. I hope they might still not look on the English with too much favour. It's only
I don't think so.
5 years since the fall. Well, it's I don't know, but if the architecture in Buenos Aires is still like old European architecture, it's not been smothered with crap just yet.
Yes.
Although they've got that guy Milai in, who's part of the crew, because he just is. So, but they've got 45 million people that live there and 55 million cows, and apparently it's the best steak in the world. It's the best steak. Yeah, and it's really inexpensive. So a steak over here that would cost you like a big chunk of steaks, like 70 quid. I don't mean for one, but it's not cheap in steak. It's very expensive. For the same amount of steak in Argentina is £11. It's a seventh of the cost, and it's better. I'm thinking, well, can we ship it over? Maybe we just get a cow and get it shipped. Maybe there's a shipping firm that go, we can ship you a cow. I don't know. We just got to find our own ways. But I want to support English farmers. And so that should be a way. That really is the way that we do it. We go to the farm and say, look, if you run out of cows, you can ship them in from Argentina. And I've got a mate here. He's got a submarine. He can bring over 50 of them every 2 weeks. Who cares?
Yes, he does whiff a bit of cow. He whiffs a bit of cow shit, but don't worry about that. He should get used to the smell.
Yeah,
but the thing is
fuck and fillet of steak. You see, there's no end to
it. We need to live our lives without government and without these arseholes wanting to screw our lives up. That's it. Now, Aunt Sally has said, "Laugh out loud. I'm too soft to eat any animal I've known whilst it lived. I feed the deer every day, but I couldn't possibly eat one now." I can understand how you feel. Yes.
Yeah, I do. I get that.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that. I mean, there's Fred the pigeon outside, and he comes down and I feed him every morning. Picks up, oh, bloody pigeons! They're lovely. I like pigeons. I like all animals. And I wouldn't do it. A bit of lead shot in it. But
I'll tell you one thing, Eric, on a sort of technical thing, and this is to everybody listening as well, even though you might not be able to answer it right now. Payment systems to provide the connective glue in an alternative economic. We've never had more than we've had right now. The crypto thing, of course, is being developed so that they could morph it into a central banking digital currency. If there's anybody out there that knows of one or a couple that would be good, I'd like to get geared up with them. In other words, whatever it is, you can maybe even get a team. It'd be beyond us unless we've got some technical people. But we need one. We need to use one. It might be useful.
Or use
normal banking stuff. Remember, they own it all. All the money that's in your bank account's theirs anyway. It might not be that much different anyway, because we all measure everything over here in pounds. You can't help it. So don't beat yourself up. You're just going to do that.
What about the gold back? You've heard of the gold back dollar. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, but we need digitally online. Like if you want to sell some T-shirts, you could take it through the mail, but it slows things. I mean, I love the idea of the mail and stamps and everything, although they probably cost £1 to send nothing these days and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. Then you need to send it through. They could be used in theory, but you probably need a few payment systems that would work. I know that like there's certain publishers that I've worked with, and they keep on losing their credit card accounts because they're they're trying to provide books that provide information in this sphere. And so they get a call from someone up the food chain and they say, close down their credit card processing. We don't want them selling this stuff. So, you're always going to fall
That's
into
the
their
problem.
purview from time to time. But the cryptocurrency, in theory, if it's truly independent, and who's to say it shouldn't be Bitcoin? I don't know. But although that seems like a speculator's haven, I mean, it's really just a speculative thing. And maybe
Well,
it's out the wrong signals. But if anybody out there knows, would you get in touch? I'll say this again on Thursday.
yeah.
A good
I mean,
email
go-
address, send anything, is studio@radiosoapbox.com. Studio@radiosoapbox.com if you've got anything like that. And as we get geared up, we'll get better email addresses so people could send stuff in. But this is the
I
sort of
agree.
team that we need.
That's right. We need to. I mean, I did think that at local level, you go to a local market, you pay using coinage like silver, which we've already got. And then I can understand, because we live in a computer world. You want to buy some T-shirts and books and whatever off the internet. We'd have to use our own currency there, and that would have to be something that a genius, very clever person thinks up. But on a local level, although it's bulky, we could go back to using coinage and just try and so we use their currency for our currency. If you get what I mean, if it's already been printed. That's the thought. Because when you look at silver, for example, a silver sovereign it was £22. It's now £36. It's gone up to £36. That's in what 3 years. It's gone up that much. But I think you can get half sovereigns, quarter sovereigns, but gold sovereigns. I mean, they're over £600 now, whereas in 2008 they were £80. So that's a nice little investment, isn't it? Someone bought, buy them in 2008. Gold sovereigns are always the best because the bastards can't get their grubby little paws on them.
Well, there's so many of them as well. The gold sovereign, which is about 0.2 of an ounce. It's not quarter of an ounce. It's just under.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the price now.
612 I think was the last I looked at it.
700 quid. 698 quid. 698 quid. This is on Bullion by Post if you want to buy one. I remember doing it because one of the ideas I had with gold, this is about 20 odd years back, is I got all the charts of the amount of gold coins that were in the world. And the sovereign there's a huge number of sovereigns. There's also a huge number of the South African Krugerrand, which is a 1 ounce coin. Okay. So
That's
you're
right.
talking about 5 times that. I guess they're about $3,000 now. So they're not for buying, mind you, they might be for buying steak the way the prices are going up. I don't know. Gold price is currently £2,773 an ounce, which is pretty high compared to what it used to be, but it'll still be massively
shot up. And it shot up a couple of weeks ago. And was it 698? And it was 600 about four weeks ago. So it's gone up 98 quid in 4 weeks.
I guess it depends where you go, Eric. You could have a combination of all. Currency's better if you don't want to leave a paper trail and all this, that, and the other, but then you'll get the snoops coming around. I'm just saying, to get things rolling, some kind of a payment system online, like for the Fockham Hall stuff, like to buy the pencil.
Yeah.
We need some way of doing it. And I did loads of these things 20 years ago, and I just got exhausted looking at it. And it's so technically advanced that it's really, I'm out of my league with it now. We had a lot of fun stuff with it. I mean, I've mentioned this thing called eGold, which was brilliant. They shut that down. That was around about 2004. And that was basically, you just sent microscopic measurements of gold electronically to one another. You could redeem them when it was up to the size where you could get a coin. It's fantastic. E-gold.
That's good. And I actually like the gold backs. Yeah, they're made in Florida.
Yeah, I love it as an idea. You've got to get them over here.
I'll tell you something. Beautiful art. The artwork is stunning on them. Whoever is the artist, or there might be a team of artists, I'd like to give them, shake their hand. They're bloody brilliant. And it's all kind of Art Nouveau style, which I like. And you just look at it, now, what's this Exo said here? That's a firm pencil, Eric, with plenty of lead. That's right, yes. In Fockham, we have very firm pencils with lot of lead. Yes, with a rubber at the end. Sorry, an eraser. If you're not American, it's a rubber if you're English. It's an eraser if you're American. Because let's face it,
Silver's the way to go. I'm looking at silver now. Silver is a 1 ounce silver bar, 46 quid. That's almost like a £50 note. That's acceptable. You could do quite a bit with that.
well, that's right. But a sovereign's 36. Last time I looked at it, it doesn't go up as much as gold because people are saying there's going to be a silver shortage. Because do you remember the thing with was it the dong or something? The Vietnamese currency. That was a Swizz. That was people bought dongs or whatever it is, and it didn't bugger all happened with them. But
I remember
no,
speaking to a guy years ago about the gold stuff. They might still be going. It was called taxfreegold.co.uk. I wonder if it's still there. I'm going to just type it in a second. I think it was. That's it. Let me have a look.
well, Dave Starbuck used to
Gold.
speak to a chap called Malcolm. Can't remember his surname at the Gold Exchange or Coin Exchange. Sorry. Which is
Mhm.
down in London, central London somewhere. It's been there since 1965. He was good mates with him, and he does some good deals apparently. But if you buy silver, it's best to go to the shop and buy them direct because if you buy it direct in a shop, you don't have to pay VAT. But if they send it to you, you have to pay VAT on the silver. Whereas with gold, it's free
For 11
VAT
o'clock,
free.
Eric, you might want to wrap up.
Oh,
no, you're
yeah, I need to wrap up. Yeah,
tax-free gold. Chards up in, I think they're in Liverpool or somewhere like that. It's been a long-standing family business. The guy I spoke to, this would be about 2005. They've got some fantastic information about the whole history of gold and gold coins. They probably do silver too. Cheapest silver 1 ounce coin. It says buy now, but it doesn't put a price. So I'm going to buy it. I need one. How much are they?
Well, it's Malcolm Board.
41 quid. There you go. So that's even less. So they're buyable and doable, but we need to get over the marketplace to do it. And he told me, you remember, I talked to him because we were talking about e-gold, and he said, look, this is all fine. He said, but the bottom line is this. If you haven't got it in your hand, you haven't got it.
That's Dave Starbucks. Because
if you haven't got it in your hand, you haven't got it. All these EFTs and all this kind of stuff, it's just them acting as market makers using your money to fulfill their lust for stuff. Forget it all.
You've got to have it. And quite honestly, Dave Starbuck, that's his say, because he started before the internet doing tapes he used to interview people and send tapes out called Revelation tapes. And he was a master in coinage. And he used to speak to this chap called Malcolm Board at the something coin exchange. I think it's down Shaftesbury Avenue. And you have to make an appointment to go there. But he does, pretty good deals. But the tip I had is don't buy, apart from Malcolm Board, go to Birmingham because that's the other place where the gold places are. And you get a better deal because you don't pay London prices. But 698, you get a far better feedback than leaving your money in a bank. And of course, you've always got that money. And people say, well, you can't eat money. No, but in every crisis in a country, the people that's got out and the people that's got what they want and lived through that crisis had gold because it's an international currency. And you can always do anything with gold. So silver, that's okay because they're saying there's a shortage of silver in the world.
Silver is affordable, and of course, our currency is supposed to be £1 of sterling silver, which would be 16 ounces times 40 quid. So that gives you what a pound is supposed to be worth. Whatever 16 times 40 is, 640 quid. So that's how much your pound's actually devalued. Your pound should buy £640 worth of silver right now, and it doesn't, of course. But I won't worry about any of that.
Well,
like Ockham Hall Festival, you could make the entry fee 1 silver ounce. You got to buy one. You get in. I need silver.
That's
and you
a good idea.
Half an ounce of silver. Yeah, to get it going, to get it moving through people's little pocketbooks and stuff like that. And
that's a good idea. But what Godfrey Bloom said, and I'm repeating what he said, with a gold sovereign 100 years ago, you could have got a room in a decent hotel and a meal in London. The spending power of that gold sovereign is exactly the same now. You can get a meal and a good room in a hotel in London. He said, so that spending power of that spending remains the same. It doesn't devalue. Now, Exo said, people forget Dave Starbuck died on a stage at an event. No, he didn't. I know it was a New Zealand chap who died on the stage. Dave Starbuck was standing next to him. And that New Zealand chap was taken out because somebody left that room very quickly as it happened. As people were rushing forward to help the poor man, Dave Starbuck was up on the stage and he saw this chap running out. Now, Dave Starbuck sadly passed away about 10 years ago. And I think he died at home. But I can't think of the name of the chap that collapsed. I can't think of it now. But yes, because, as I say, Dave was standing right next to him. Because I remember him reporting it to me. I think you remember Dave Starbuck, don't you, Paul?
Yeah, I remember reading some of his stuff. I don't have any of it on file. And Exo writes he was ahead of his time. He was. He was like a pioneer around this space, looking at things. There's also a guy that I've mentioned before called David Guyat, who used to write in Nexus magazine. He wrote some brilliant stuff. And I wrote to Duncan Rhodes, who's still there, about 5 months ago. I said, I'm looking to try and chase down David Guyat. I know it's a long time ago, but his articles and everything. He had a website still there called deepblacklies.co.uk. I think it's still up and running, but it doesn't function, but it's just there as a holding page, deepblacklies.co.uk. Guyat was an ex-city guy. He did some brilliant work on the amount of gold in the world, and it's colossal. It's absolutely huge, and it was huge then, but this was even before they discovered literally trillions of ounces of gold in the Philippines. There's so much gold that you could, and I remember seeing this interview. Who was it? There was an interview recently with some guy talking about it. I've forgotten her name. It doesn't matter. This is about 6 months back. And of course, they were coming up with this view. She said, oh, well, this could refinance and sort the world out. And he's going, yeah. And I'm going, no, it couldn't. It could if we were in a space where there weren't any crooks. It's the practical problem of getting round the market makers who seize control of the market, and you end up operating at their beck and call. That's always been the issue, which is why you need it in your pocket. I mean, when this whole sort of gold control thing started, I don't know, it must have been back in Babylon or even before then, when commercial travelers with gold would arrive in little towns, they would want to store it. Well, they didn't at first. They'd keep it in their saddlebags or whatever they had. But of course, they're getting hit over the head by blokes with clubs and things, right? So the early bankers were basically people that had strong houses. They go, well, if you're in town for a few days, you don't want to be walking around the streets because you might get hit over the head. And when business was slow, these banking guys would send guys out with clubs to hit them over the head to create the causative reason for you to store your gold in their strong house. They said there's a lot of rough around here. Oh, well, off in brackets, we know because we actually pay for them to go around and hit you guys, so that we've got a service business here for you to store it with us. It's just, it's non-stop.
But actually, Nuki Brown has just come up. Thank you, mate. That's much appreciated. The man that Dave Starbuck was standing next to was called Dean Warwick. And Dean Warwick was talking about, I think, 9/11 and the assassination of JFK, and he collapsed on stage. And Dave Starbuck was standing next, and as I say, people had staged forward to help him. He saw this fella run out of the hall, and he reckons it might have been done with a sort of a heart attack weapon or something like that, because he was quite fit, Dean Warwick, but when he was standing there and he just collapsed. He said he's there one moment, the next minute he was on the floor. So I remember Dave telling me about it, but his girlfriend phoned me to tell me that David passed away, and that was about 10 years ago. And I was quite upset because I was good mates with him. We were good friends, Dave Starbuck and myself, and we used to phone each other regularly. But that's it, Exo. Dean Warwick. Yep, that was the one. Yeah, that was but
Yeah, and X also
very
right
funny.
says I tracked Guyat down to a financial company a few years back. Well done, you. He didn't
Yeah,
respond to me. No, astonishing researcher he was, and he was lying low for the completely obvious reasons from what he was
yeah.
revealing. You
Here we
remember that?
are.
What's his name?
He was tapped.
Waldheim. Kurt Waldheim, the guy that headed
Yes,
up Austria when we were younger in the 70s. He was an
yes.
ex officer, and he was the president or prime minister of Austria. There's a lot of notes in Guyat's work of Waldheim's declarations of the amount of gold they were sitting on. It's just ludicrous. It's just
Really?
silly. But yeah, there's just tons of it. There's absolutely loads. It's a completely artificial market. So although gold is at £3,600 an ounce, I guess if they flooded it, it would drop. But the main reason they keep it out is that it is better than their money as long as you can hold on to it. And of course, people say, well, then everybody would have to defend themselves against robbers. I don't think so. Some of you would. I mean, this is why it's all a protection racket, isn't it? This is the psychopath's disease. You're in danger. You need me to protect you. Oh, and it'll cost you £100 a year for the services. And you are in danger from the psychopath because his other psychopathic mates are the ones that are going to beat you up. It's a shakedown operation. La, 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 la. It's gone 11 o'clock, by the way.
It's got 11 o'clock. We better zoom, and I need to hit the hay.
What's going on?
Thank you very much, Paul, for coming on. It's much appreciated.
Flown by.
Really
3 hours.
enjoyed that. It really has thrown the fastest 3 hours.
It really has.
Thursday. Now, I believe, I think Kurt, who's coming on your show this Thursday? I think it's actually.
You, I hope. I don't know.
Yes, I think Donald Trump might be on.
Yeah,
Donald Trump coming on? I think Donald Trump's coming on, isn't he? You know,
or is it? He said he couldn't wait to get, and I blew him out. I said, "Bugger off." I've got Eric on it. Right. I'm not talking to you, you big golden-haired twat.
Big girl Blairs.
Go and kiss Bill Gates' ass. Haven't you got the Queen to be, or the King to be poncing about? With your bloody people. Get back to bloody Windsor and get in your hole. Yeah. So
anyway, you can follow. You can follow Paul and myself. We both got our own sites on Telegram and now Gab. We're both on Gab, aren't we? And we're. I got a moment. To Facebook. So there we go. So
like video. I'm loving it. It's great. It's just like now that it works and you can upload MP3 files, it's pretty cool that. They didn't do that for years. I think I got an account about 3 months after it launched. I've been on there for years, but not been very active on it. But I'm suddenly feeling as if it's really going to be it could be a really great space for us. Oh, and Al Von Kurt and others I know you're all going to call in. We got all these calls last Thursday, and the phone system, frankly, was rank. It just didn't work right. No. But I was testing another one the other day, and I think it's going to be better. So we'll see. So there'll be different phone numbers on Thursday. Just look out for them. They'll be on the screen. Yeah.
8 o'clock UK time. Okay,
that's
very
right.
important. On Rumble. And you're also on, it's like myself, you're on Rumble and also YouTube.
Yep.
YouTube. And I'm also on Facebook as well. Even though I stick 2 fingers up at it, I've got a large audience on Facebook. So, I'm still keeping that going. It's Fockham Hall on Facebook.
You're a broadcasting tart, Eric. What are you?
And, so
out to everyone.
That's right. So, thank you, everybody. So, you can catch up with us. Was it Hachi says, was it? I love you all.
You are all. I do like you.
Oh,
yes.
Do like you. Yes. And thank you, everyone, for coming on the show. And have you got anything to say to the audience before we sign off?
Well, I've really enjoyed tonight. It's been kind of bonkers in a way, hasn't it? But it's just absolutely flown by. And it's always great doing a show with you, Eric, because it's always
likewise.
We move through all sorts of different stuff, and we have a laugh. We get serious, then we have a laugh again. And I love that. And it is a bit like being in a pub, and I'm not even having a drink. It's better than that. So really enjoyed tonight. Yeah, it's been good. And my knees are warm, so that's a plus.
That's a good thing. And
Yeah.
The smutty joke didn't spoil. It was as smutty as ever, wasn't it?
Yeah, there is that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you missed that one, didn't you? You came in. Oh, a bit like you did. You know, if you had the Vic around for tea, that would have been a bit embarrassing, wouldn't it? But anyway, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. And remember to put the old thumbs up, not only on my show, but also on Paul's show, and subscribe down there like that. And you can join us on Gab, Telegram, or Facebook. And I don't think you're on Facebook, Paul, are you? I don't
No,
know. Are you?
I
Yeah,
don't.
I
I
am.
never have been. No,
And
I've never used
well,
it.
it's very nice if you want to know what people have for breakfast and what they have for dinner.
Yeah.
See?
Or what books they're reading, or what their face looks like. I
Yes.
hope it was about faces and books, isn't it? Isn't that what it's about?
Something like that, yes.
Yeah.
But also, if you're feeling generous, you know, there's a buy me a coffee below. You know, it seems to be playing the banjo and the mouth organ outside the outside Tesco. So there we go. And if you believe that, believe anything. And all it leaves me to say is, whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh and good night.
Good night, everyone.
And we're still live. And come on, here we are.